Hi Wildings, welcome back to the Wilding Tarot YouTube channel on this beautiful Venus day, the perfect day to be recording our reading today, just given the theme of the reading, which I will get into in more detail in a moment, but I don't have a lot of time to kind of ramble on today because our setup didn't take very long. It's a very, very basic setup that we're working with just to give ourselves a little bit more room in our spread, which we'll see why in a moment. So just for the very brief couple of seconds that we have here today for our opening time lapse, just enjoying the vibes. I do have the window open. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's birds, there's a fountain outside my window. So hopefully you can enjoy the relaxing vibes and we'll get into our video pretty quickly today. Hi Wildings, I know this looks a little bit different, but we're gonna do something a little bit different today. I have had in my head all morning from Spirit to channel messages for each rising sign based on where the upcoming Venus retrograde will be affecting them. So basically we're going to go through every single sign as a rising sign reference. So wherever your rising sign, that's the pile you'll go to, and I'll read for the corresponding house that your Venus retrograde is happening in, based on what's going on in terms of love and life for you in this Venus retrograde. So Venus stations direct at the Gemini full moon on the 18th, and then goes retrograde from the 19th, I think, until the 29th. I can't actually remember, or 22nd, I don't know. One of those days, you can Google it, or I might Google it after I've finished to put in the description notes. But yeah, we know Venus is the planet of love. She also looks after things like the second house, so finances, and she also is big on just like femininity, beauty, things like that. So kind of depending where your Capricorn Venus retrograde will be, that will change the energies. But we're going to get tarot readings for every rising sign. This is based on tropical astrology, which is like mostly what people use. But if you'd like to use sidereal, you can always either use the sidereal rising sign. It will affect the houses though, so you might need to just go based off houses rather than signs for this one. But yeah, going ahead, finding out what your ascendant is, and then using that to get your reading today. So for example, I'm a Virgo Rising, so I'll be getting a reading for my Capricorn Venus retrograde in the 5th house of creativity. Aries will be in the 10th, Pisces will be in the 11th, and everyone else is like right next to each other. But I'll have in the description box the sign and the house for you, so hopefully that'll make it nice and easy. But I feel like it's a little bit unfair that we always start with Aries, so I'm actually going to start with my sign. I'm going to start with Virgo right in the middle, and then work my way back to Leo. Leo can be last. This can be not your main character moment. You get enough main character moments. So that's the order I'm going to go in, just fair warning. And yeah, let's get into today's video. I'm super excited. Hi Virgo Risings, welcome friends. We love each other, we know that. But here we go for our reading for the day. Our Venus sign will be retrograding in Capricorn in the 5th house of sex, romance, pleasure, fun. So those will definitely be the themes of our Venus retrograde. Venus is obviously in this house now. When the retrograde is not happening, a lot of the time these energies are more kind of externally focused out in the world, but when Venus goes retrograde, a lot of the time the focus shifts to internal. So I'm expecting our messages today to have a bit to do with maybe uncovering some blocks when it comes to this energy, or just like lots of introspection. So we'll just see what the tarot cards say in regards to these energies. Could we please have a reading? Okay, that was really quick. Could we please have messages for Virgo Risings, please? Could we please have messages for Virgo Risings for this retrograde, please? Could we please have messages for Virgo Risings for this retrograde? We have messages for Virgo Risings for their retrograde. Could we just clarify this Wheel of Fortune energy, please? Could we just clarify this Wheel of Fortune energy, please? I'm going to change it up my layout. Sorry guys. Those are the guinea pigs. Hopefully because you know you're my favorites. You don't mind. Virgo Risings, there's a lot of sexual energy in this spread, and given that your Venus retrograde is happening in your 5th house of sex, pleasure, romance and fun, I expect that in this retrograde, leading up to it or after it, there's going to be some sort of emphasis on your sex life at this stage, if it's not already. There's a lot of fire energy here, obviously with the wand suit coming out, the Devil, Judgment, both very sexual cards. There's also a lot of Mars energy in these cards here. So Mars is known for as the planet of passion, as the planet of sexual expression. So definitely expect sexual ecstasy to be coming your way. The wheel is gonna turn in your favor when it comes to sexual expression and sexual fun, sexual joy, especially with this Fool and 3 of Pentacles cards coming out. Fool traditionally represents newness, new cycles, like new beginnings, and this can either be with someone completely new or potentially someone returning to you in the period of retrograde, who potentially will be on a new level, but being very mindful that in the retrograde, this energy can bring back not evolved as well as evolved lovers, and you will have to practice a lot of discernment to make sure that if this is a returning lover, that they have truly evolved, and definitely hold off until making any commitments until after the retrograde is passed. You're welcome to enjoy the sex and fun and pleasure, but don't make any hasty decisions when it comes to partnership with this person until after the retrograde for sure. Because this Three of Pentacles is also another collaboration card. It's a Mars and Capricorn energy, and these two together definitely suggest to me a new collaboration, like a new endeavor, whether that's just new energy or new like a new person. However, this is coming in only if you've dealt with grief in a very real way. For anyone who's not dealt with grief from any past connections, indicated by this Five of Cups in reverse, this journey for you will probably be more internal. It'll be more like a sexual exploration with yourself rather than with another person. But yeah, for anyone who feels like they've definitely overcome a lot of pain and grief from the past, this is likely going to be a new connection with someone. However, as I was saying before, just be like super mindful that if someone does come in who's new or someone who's returning, because of this retrograde energy, just be mindful that you might not be seeing them clearly at this stage, especially with this King of Wands and Devil card coming out so close together. These two energies together usually indicate the potential for someone to be fairly self-centered, if not narcissistic, or just like traditionally in paradigms where they're more of a taker and their partner is more of a giver. So just make sure before you make any commitments that this person is like not that energy, especially in the beginning, because they might be able to more easily pull the wool over your eyes. But I would say either way, they will be a very, very passionate lover, and you will have some very transformative sexual encounters with them. So the Chariot card, this is Cancer energy, and Cancer rules the 4th house. And this card often refers to like overcoming wounds that come from our 4th house of home, especially like kind of the feeling side of it. The Chariot, when we haven't done healing, the Chariot can represent like being overly controlling in order to control our environment because we feel so out of control inside. But when it's like when you've done a lot of healing in that area, the Chariot definitely is more about kind of like bold moves based on having overcome a lot of your kind of stuff. And this coming out with these cards definitely tells me that there's potential to like have some trauma from the 4th house resolved through sexual like fantasy play, kink potentially, based on this 5th house energy and this Devil energy. Like the Devil is definitely about exploring anything that tempts you, anything that feels kind of naughty. And the thing is, like, a lot of our kinks come from trauma. Like a lot of the time when something happens to us, it either becomes traumatic or it becomes kinky. Like it can be both, but a lot of the time those are the paths that these things take. And so it seems like that's potentially what's going to be happening for you sexually in this Venus retrograde. There's going to be some things that come up in a sexual connection with a partner, a person, or in sexual connection with yourself, in regards to like liberating some of those energies through play, inner child kind of fun, rather than like it's not going to come from a place of like shadow work. Everything's like deep and like in your head. It's definitely going to come from play and fun and just like enjoying the moment. So this 7 of Wands, this is a Mars in Leo energy, and this is about choosing battles wisely. And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier in terms of just anyone that comes in, just be like super mindful of their energy. There's a lot of warnings in here just to be like, just practice using your intuition and discernment for sure with them, because even if they're not a forever thing, even if they're a play thing in terms of like liberation, like it'll still be fun to engage with them, but just like don't get ahead of yourself, and just be super discerning, especially with the Six of Swords energy coming out. This is traditionally an action and movement card. It has a lot to do with cognition and communication, so it does have this kind of like X backslide energy to it a lot of the time. So yeah, if it is an X, just making sure that they've overcome some of the things that they needed to overcome in order to be in connection with you. So just kind of like take everything with a grain of salt throughout the period of retrograde, and don't make any decisions until Venus comes out of retrograde in late Jan. Yeah, I think that's all that you need to know. But let's see if there's anything else in the oracles for you. Virgo Risings. Do we have anything else for Virgo Risings, please? Okay, so we have a soulmates card and we have a cassette, which is updating conditioning and outdated thinking. So yeah, I would say for the majority of people here that this sexual thing that's going to start is definitely a soul contract energy that is designed to overcome some of your conditioning from your past and explore any kind of kinks and fun from this position of like play and like enjoyment. So yeah, while you do need to be mindful just because of the nature of the retrograde energy, like I think for a lot of you it will be a like soulmates connection. Just be super mindful and careful just in case, because there is potential to be blindsided for sure. Yeah, I think this will be a very healing connection for the majority of you here. Like I wouldn't worry too much about it being with someone toxic, because I think for the majority of people it won't be. Yeah, this will be something, this person will be what you need, or you'll be what you need if this connection is going to be with you, if this sexual like exploration, this play is going to be for you. A lot of the kinks might have to do with like fear, ego issues, jealousy, self-sabotage, any way that you lack confidence. But no, it'll be with someone who's like, who likes you, who will engage in this kind of like fun flirting, like play when it comes to dating and stuff too. Do you have anything else for Virgo Risings? Yeah, I think this is going to be a really abundant, beautiful time for you. Just be mindful if this is an X that comes back for you though. Make sure that the pattern is definitely stopped before you recommit in any sort of relationship capacity. If you want to like hook up and enjoy a lot of this like kind of sexual energy, that's so fine. Make sure that you're both like kind of aware of the conditions and aware of the boundaries of that kind of relationship though. And yeah, just definitely just wait until Venus is out of retrograde before you make any commitments, because it's important that yeah, any patterns that led to any sort of separation with you from any past people are finished. And potentially like some of your past patterns might not finish until you had this like judgment day, like sexual experiences with each other. Like it's potentially, that's going to be part of them being ready. Like, so even if someone's not, like, you know, they're not relationship ready yet, you can still engage in this sexual fun and play, and you never know, that might actually get them there. I think this will require a lot of willpower for you, because this is going to be like sexually so ecstatic that you'll have to use a lot of willpower to make sure that you don't make any silly decision from the wrong part of your body. Make sure you're making them from your head and not your genitals. Yeah, and just make sure that in this play that you're really aware of any fear consciousness that you're working through, and it's probably a good idea to maybe communicate that as well, just in case yeah, you start to feel like triggered or something. Have some safe words. And yeah, just like intuitively follow the path that's unfolding. I'm sensing for some of you that like I'm kind of hearing for a few people that you might not want to engage sexually with this person until they're like 3000% ready in terms of relationship, for like whatever reason. But know that sometimes things don't happen as we expect, and make sure that you're not mentally creating a path from expectation. Make sure you're intuitively feeling the path from like the path of least resistance, like what's coming kind of energetically. Like try not to put too much expectation or thinking around it too much. Yeah, this is the time for healing. Not all healing has to be doom and gloom, guys. Like sometimes we get to heal from a place of like fun, play, excitement. And it's also a time to release any negativity. This Scorpio energy is also another sexual energy. So especially any negativity when it comes to sex, it's definitely a good time to release it. And Scorpio also rules the 8th house of beginnings and endings. So if there's any negativity between you and this person that you're potentially reconnecting with, know that it's a time to release it. You can be engaging on all this fun stuff, but also releasing like lots of shit from your past. Yeah, so we have new beginnings. So whether this is, whether you're undertaking this with yourself, with a new person, with an old person, know that there's going to be a new beginning and a celebration impending for you, and like opportunity for you to use the wisdom that you've gained throughout your healing so far in whatever it is that you've been doing. Okay, so your affirmations are: I am fearless in the pursuit of what I desire. I radiate love and my heart is open to receiving the love that I desire, and compassion naturally flows from the heart of my inner being. Cute. Love that for you, Virgo Risings, and me, I guess. But I think I'm going to leave that there. Hope you got everything out of this reading that you really wanted and needed, and I would love if you could like, comment, and subscribe, so that I will see you again on this page very, very soon. And if you liked this kind of reading, I know it's a little bit different than what I normally do, make sure you let me know so I know whether to repeat. But ciao. Hi Libra Risings, welcome to your reading for what's happening for you in life and love during this Venus retrograde. So obviously for you, your Venus retrograde in Capricorn is happening in your 4th house of family, roots, family of origin, comfort, stability, security, like all that sort of stuff. So that's going to be the general theme of this energy. Obviously, Venus is in Capricorn for a while in this house for you. It is in retrograde only for like about a month, a bit more, I think, yeah, a little bit over a month. So during the retrograde period, that's definitely a time where the energies of like love, connection, femininity, beauty, like security, finances, and things like that become a little bit more internalized. So that's kind of like what I'm expecting this reading to kind of present as, is some internalizations around this energy. But yeah, we'll see what happens, because I am going to ask kind of like broadly as well, so that we know what might be happening either leading up to or at the end, because afterwards the energy will become more external again, and so there might be messages for you there as well. We'll just see what comes out in the cards, basically, is what I'm trying to say, about whether it'll be just retrograde specific or if it will have to do with the energies when they start going external again, when Venus comes out of retrograde. But Spirit, can we please have messages for Libra Risings in regard to this Venus retrograde / Venus in the 4th house energy for them. Libra Rising, Spirit's asking you to be super mindful about hastily ending any connections unless you've been super certain about them needing to close for a while now. Because definitely during the Venus retrograde, there may be some energies present for you in terms of closing things, but I'm sensing that they're going to come from a place of fear and maybe some kind of stuff from this 4th house childhood home kind of energy coming up, rather than them being necessarily the best decision to make. So Spirit's asking you to really focus on staying in alignment to yourself. This Justice card, this is Libra energy, and this card in particular refers to usually kind of the legalities of two energies coming together. So this is very much a kind of like the technicalities of marriage kind of energy, but these two energies coming out in reverse is telling me that there's definitely potential for you to kind of get out of alignment when it comes to potentially ending something with someone or deciding that you don't want something with someone from a place of fear, because this Justice card right way up is a heavy marriage card, but in reverse sometimes it's more of like a divorce, separation, breakup kind of energy. And Spirit just wants to make sure that you're making the decision fully kind of in discernment of yourself and your true wants and needs, and not coming from a place of like the Empress shadow. She can either be very self-indulgent or she can be very self-abandoning. They're kind of like her two versions of the shadow, and different people go into different extremes, and we all do different things at different times based on circumstance. But just be mindful of that shadow of where you're being super self-indulgent, super like or like going into like kind of victim mentality, or being super kind of negligent of other people, or super abandoning of yourself. So this is definitely about making sure that you're honoring yourself in this Venus retrograde and not making any hasty decisions, especially not making any decisions where it unnecessarily puts you in an unstable position, especially financially, but just in terms of comfort and security as well. This Four of Pentacles is traditionally a security and stability kind of energy. And this Judgment energy is a Pluto kind of consume and destroy, like revolutionize energy. So yeah, don't make any hasty decisions where you put yourself kind of out in a way, because this energy will be super intense at this time. But I would say for some of you, there's also possibility for you to use this Venus retrograde energy for you to discern if your current house, home situation actually does make you secure and stable. So while the cards are definitely telling you not to make any rash actions, they're definitely asking you to think about it, to use this energy to reflect, maybe journal, internalize some stuff, and just like make sure that you're in alignment. Because yeah, Spirit's not necessarily saying that it's in your best interest to stay in this connection, but it is in your best interest to figure out what feels right for you, and like use this very reflective energy to discern that for yourself. And definitely just take the time, take the month, or however long the Venus retrograde goes for, and don't make any actions, but definitely make a lot of reflections. This Wheel of Fortune card is right in the middle of the Major Arcana, and often refers to some sort of expansion going on. It is a heavy Jupiter energy, which is an expansive energy. And this Four of Cups, this energy is a Moon in Cancer energy, and it's definitely about, when it comes out in reverse, it's usually asking us to engage in more nurturing of the self, being emotionally honest and realistic with our expectations, and have the courage to explore any grief or pain, and essentially go through any any experiences that are leaving us unfulfilled in some way, and understanding whether we're feeling unfulfilled because we have unrealistic expectations, or because we're lying to ourselves about whether that thing can ever even emotionally fulfill us. So I would say with this Wheel of Fortune card coming out that potentially like these things will become more obvious to you. You'll expand your awareness in regards to a lot of these things. But this Wheel of Fortune is also about change. So this Venus retrograde might make you more inclined to change your current position if something is revealed to you in the way of whether your expectations or need to change, or you need to be more honest with yourself. But this World card, this is the last card in the Major Arcana, and this usually signifies kind of things coming to a close and lessons learned, and basically kind of like wrapping up lessons so that you can get onto kind of a new level of spiritual development. And then this Three of Wands is a heavy kind of teamwork card. It's a Sun in Aries energy, and it's all about being with people that give and receive love equally. And so it seems like the lesson for this Venus retrograde for you will be, are you with people that can give and receive love equally to you? Are you with people that, this is like romantic and otherwise, are you with people that ask you to self-abandon? Are you with people who allow you to be too self-indulgent? Like who's around you, and does that need to shift? So yeah, use this Venus retrograde energy definitely to journal, reflect, meditate on your relationships, who's fulfilling, who's not, potentially what needs to change. Because yeah, it's a really good time to reflect. I think for some of you, there is a need to heal, to do some shadow work, and potentially either like focus on yourself more and appreciate yourself more, or like take other people's positions into consideration a lot less. This is all about learning and expanding. I think this is definitely about learning and expanding for you, for sure. Do you have anything else for Libra risings? Okay, so we have breakup, separation, stop the pattern. So definitely if you're in a connection, or have been in connections where you're inclined into this self-indulgent energy in some way, or you're unfulfilled, or like potentially you have too high expectations on partners, it's really time to stop the pattern. But yeah, like Spirit said, this is not necessarily a time to physically break up with someone, but it is a time to reflect and just make sure that you're in the right connection for you that's making you feel fulfilled, and make sure that you're also able to be really realistic in that connection and not have too high expectations at the same time. Okay, so definitely a time for healing. There will be people who need to end their connection in this for sure. I don't think that's everyone though, but everyone for sure will need to grow and transform their life in this time, or at least think about how to grow and transform their life at this time. Especially themes of not enoughness, fear and ego issues and jealousy might come up, especially just given that this is happening in your 4th house, which has a lot to do with family of origin, so a lot to do with trauma. Okay, so we have the soulmates card and then the cassette card, which this is about updating outdated thinking and conditioning. And the soulmate cards is obviously to do with soul contracts and agreements. I think for some of you, you will stay in connection, and this is potentially more of a long-term contract that will basically help you see where you have too high expectations and where you need to kind of rein things in, and also where you need to heal some stuff. So yeah, I'd say there's a bit of a mix here of people that need to end their connection and people who need to just be more realistic in their connection. But yeah, intuitively, you'll know what's right for you. If not now, at the end of this Venus retrograde, after you've like maximized the self-reflection. Literally what I was just about to say, based on, yeah, this internal kind of retrograde energy. Definitely resist making any big moves at the moment. It's just kind of stay with it, stay in it. Don't make any drastic decisions right now. It's just not a good time. And yeah, there's going to be parts of this reflection that are going to require a lot of acceptance of yourself, especially in terms of witnessing yourself, witnessing your own patterns, witnessing how things play out for you in love and in life. Yeah, so try not to be too hard on yourself, because that's just more of this not enough energy, and we're trying to resolve that. Yeah, release this not enough stuff. Don't let that kind of come into your own healing too much. And essentially, like, visualize, figure out what it is that you want in relationship, and then hold your vision. Obviously being flexible in terms of like where you've brought shadow into your vision yourself. But the pure vision, there's a vision that's untainted by your ego. Hold that. That's what you're looking for. Yeah, so it's definitely a good time to be in solitude and reflect, whether you're in connection or not. Spend some more time alone reflecting in this time for sure. But affirmations we have for you, Libra Risings, is I radiate prosperity and I manifest success. I am welcoming positive change as an opportunity to expand my being, and I trust in the divine guidance of my inner wisdom. All of the answers are within. So I'm going to leave that there, Libra Risings. I hope you got everything out of this reading that you really wanted and needed. It's been a pleasure reading for you. My name is Jade Wilding, and I'll be on this channel doing more intuitive tarot card readings like this. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to see me again very soon. Ciao. Hi Scorpio Risings, welcome to your reading for what's happening in love and life around the retrograde period for you. So your Venus retrograde in Capricorn is happening in your 3rd house, which has a lot to do with communication and just kind of the nitty-gritties of like how things work in life. This is heavy Gemini and Mercury energy. So yeah, I am expecting this to be interesting of what comes out, because Gemini does rule this 3rd house energy, and it also rules the Lovers card in the tarot. So when Venus things are happening in the 3rd house, sometimes this can influence our relationships. Like traditionally we would think of Venus retrogrades affecting our relationships more in especially the 7th but also the 5th house, because they're very kind of combined with others kind of energy, whereas the third house, I think, is more traditionally thought of as about kind of the self, and especially the self and the spirit. But yeah, this third house can be to do with definitely connections with like our people, like soulmate kind of energy. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what comes out. Obviously during the retrograde, energies will be directed inwards, so they'll be very reflective and internal. So I'm expecting messages to come through in regards to more internal reflective kind of energy, but we'll also ask general energy questions for when Venus goes back direct. Okay, interesting. So yeah, hopefully we'll get a mixture of internal and external energies for this reading. We have messages for Scorpio Risings in regards to this Venus in Capricorn in the third house energy. We have more for Scorpio Risings about this Venus in Capricorn in the third house energy. We'll clarify this Empress energy. We clarify this Page of Wands energy. And this Five of Pentacles energy, please. Scorpio Risings, this Venus retrograde is going to help you rectify different points of view. So because this is happening in your third house of communication, this is all about rectifying points of view, usually through communication, especially about communicating effectively. And this Two of Swords energy in particular is about being able to see two sides of the story, and essentially to see that no one's the good guy and the bad guy. It's not black and white like that. All realities are relative to the person who's perceiving it. And really we can only understand other people's realities by communicating with them, and trying to see the world through their eyes. When the Star and Knight of Cups come out, usually this refers to kind of meeting the love of your life energy. And this might be literal, like maybe the love of your life is about to enter your life, but this might be also down the track, especially because this Star card came out in reverse. It seems like there's some things for you to rectify within yourself before you're essentially ready for this connection. Usually when the Star card comes out in reverse, it means that there might be some ego that's making you want your point of view to be the right point of view. And there needs to be kind of this detachment and understanding that understanding of kind of like the highest good for everyone, if that makes sense. Like the Star's associated with heavy Aquarius energy, and it's also a very humanitarian card. It's about kind of uplifting all people and giving all people equal rights, equal voice, blah 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 blah. And this coming out in reverse usually indicates some need to detach a little bit from the own point of view, especially from any ego stories that might be present, to take into consideration where other people have come from, what other people are seeing, and understanding life through their eyes. Because essentially, like, that's one of the best ingredients for a really healthy connection. So I would say during this period, there'll definitely be some like healing taking place for you in regards to accepting other points of view, understanding others, maybe communicating with others more. Not necessarily like lovers, but definitely people that you care about, that you're in relationship with. You'll be able to learn how to kind of take connections to another level by thinking more relatively and thinking less black and white, essentially. Because this Five of Pentacles, this is traditionally like a kind of like sickness or poverty card, but what it refers to kind of more deeply is a need to take action, and especially around uplifting the self in some way, usually the physical body, but it can be anything, especially with this Eight of Pentacles, which is traditionally like more of a knowledge learning kind of energy. I would say that this uplifting for you is more about like a mental uplifting, so that you can be in a very well-connected, passionate, romantic kind of relationship, because you have space for other people's point of view, and you can also see things from other people's point of view, so that you can actually love and appreciate them a lot more in connection. This energy is also about healing stagnation, because it's a Mercury in Taurus energy. Taurus tends to be prone to stagnation when it falls into its shadow, and so this is also referring to not getting stuck in the own worldview, the own point of view, and being able to step outside of the single point of view into other people's point of views. And it seems like with these cards coming out in reverse that this might be something that you're being challenged by at the moment with this Six of Swords and Page of Wands, because this Page of Wands is a heavy kind of like exploratory, curious, excited kind of energy. And this Six of Swords is like a moving kind of energy. So again, it's kind of like asking for some sort of shift, especially in the way that you're perceiving things. So yeah, definitely in this time, you'll be called to shift your perspective and to let go of ego, to allow space for lots of point of views. And if you are either in a connection or manifesting a connection, or like wanting to reunite with someone that you've been in connection with, or wanting to attract someone that you've never been in connection with, all of this is super relevant. Like, it's super important that you use this Venus retrograde energy to do a lot of self-work in this regard, in order to grow, so that you essentially can be ready for this connection. If you resonate with this Empress energy, this is definitely about learning about yourself as one side of the coin, but then also being open to learn about someone else's point of view. So a lot of this has to do with like loving and accepting your point of view, so that you're more able to listen to opposite point of views, because it's usually when you're insecure about your own point of view that it's hard to hear other people's point of view. So that'll definitely be something that you're working on if you resonate with this Empress energy. If you don't, it's a similar message, but it's more about learning about the opposite view, like rather than necessarily starting with your own. You might be starting with the opposite. You might be starting with learning more about the feminine experience and letting go of any Emperor kind of projection that you might put on the world. So take whichever of those messages resonates. Either you need to love and accept your point of view first, or you need to let go of your point of view and learn about kind of the Empress experience on Earth. Yeah, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. But basically that's what's going down for you, Scorpio risings, in this time. So expect a lot to shift when it comes to understanding the point of view of others. Okay. So we have a few cards here for the... So I would say that because this is all happening in your third house of like communication and messages, that there's a need for you to start connecting with people leading up to and in this retrograde and outside of it. Probably while we're in retrograde, it'll be easier for you to internalize your conversations and reflect on them more, so make the most of that energy for sure. But when we're out of retrograde, so before and after, it's probably easier for you to socially engage, so make sure you're doing that as well, especially before, so that you have a lot to think about while we're in retrograde. It's important to really start connecting with people a lot more and trying to see other people's point of views, especially if there's people with different points of view than you. Really trying to open yourself up and listen to other sides of the story. So what's interesting is these energies are kind of opposite. Love coming in, and very new love, and then this is like old kind of things dying out kind of energy. So this could refer to a past connection, like that kind of closing and opening up a new connection entirely, or a new cycle of that connection. Or this might be kind of being able to heal some sort of past connection where there's some trauma to do with this kind of energy, this point of view energy, so that you can be open to a new connection. Or this might just refer to the end of a period of being single, to be open to like a new relationship. Or this might be referring to the end of focusing on others and focusing on relationships to focusing on self-love, depending on kind of what scenario you're in. So yeah, whatever your intuition kind of like went ding, 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 ding at as I was speaking, trust it. Okay, so if your tendency when someone has a different point of view from you is to either abandon your own point of view and kind of accept the other person's point of view, or like trying really desperately to make them see your side of the story, that's definitely something that you have the opportunity to heal in this time. Or at least for you to see, for you to gain clarity on, and for you to understand in regards to your own tendencies, so that you can empower yourself a lot more. So yeah, I would say for a fair few people in your past, you've either abandoned your own points of view, or you've stuck to your points of view and then tried really, really desperately to get others to see things like you do. It's a good time to reflect on those patterns, understanding why you have them, where they've come from, and why they were necessary, and why you want to let go of them for the future. Being motivated does a lot. Okay, this is definitely a time for change, a time to create new patterns, especially around connection, and improving your ability to communicate, and being able to have more pure connections, because your communication's better, your ability to see two sides of the story is better. This is definitely a time for healing for you, Scorpio Risings. So nothing is yet set in stone, but it'll kind of depend on the outcome of what happens in this healing period for you to what happens in the future. And potentially you might feel like your commitment to either a new connection, an old connection, or whatever might be being tested at this time. Like you might be super challenged by trying to see other people's points of view. But yeah, try and get over that initial first hump where it's challenging, until you start to feel at least a little bit more flow with it. And try to release any resistance that you might be experiencing to trying to understand other people's point of views, and not necessarily have to have them understand your point of view. With this kind of like chaser energy, like they don't have to understand your point of view. Just focus on trying to understand their point of view first. But yeah, it's definitely a period of transformation for you for sure. It's like heavy transformative energy here. Do we have any affirmations for Scorpio Risings? Okay, so we have My life is filled with serenity. I exist in harmony. I'm at peace. I think this is relevant for you because you will not know peace until you can be super comfortable with your point of view, and until you can allow others to have their point of view and have it essentially not affect you in some massive way where you feel, like threatened. So dealing with that will be super, super helpful right now. But I think I'm going to leave that there, Scorpio Risings. I hope you got everything out of this reading that you wanted and needed, or at the very least you were entertained. I hope this helps for your Venus retrograde. And if you can like, comment, and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. Until I see you again, ciao. Hi Sagittarius Risings, welcome to your reading for what's happening in love and in life for your Venus retrograde. So your retrograde is happening in the second house of owning and possessions, which Venus actually rules. So Venus rules the second house of possessions and ownings, and she has a lot to do with receiving like security, but especially material possessions, like things like that. So she's quite at home here. It's a pretty good place for her to hang out. What was I going to say? So when she's retrograding in the second house, a lot of the time that has a lot to do with reflecting on kind of more financial, material kind of development. The retrograde's a very introspective energy, and Venus just transiting through a house is a more external expressive energy. So expect like more external expression of Venus in this house after the retrograde for you. There might be some either slowing down or introspection or reflection, or also challenge when Venus goes retrograde in this house. But we'll find out from the tarot exactly what Spirit wants you to be aware of in terms of this transit and this retrograde. Spirit, can we please have some messages for Sagittarius Risings in regards to the Venus transit through their second house? We have clarification on this Knight of Pentacles energy. And the Seven of Wands energy. This is a lot. Okay, I'm just going to take the first and last cards. Sagittarius Risings, what's really interesting about this, which I'm not at all surprised about, is so much Pentacles energy came out, which we know is the energy of like especially financial success, but just things coming into fruition. And this is all happening in your second house of owning. So like, of course. But basically what I can tell you is in this time, especially through this retrograde, Spirit is trying to get you to let go of trying to control finances so much, and definitely trying to get you into more of a place of like attracting finances through some of the lessons that it's like trying to teach you and some things that it's trying to make you more aware of. There's definitely some things you need to let go of so that abundance can flow in more naturally, for sure. This Knight of Pentacles is traditionally like a hard work kind of energy. But this Eight of Swords is definitely an abandonment or letting go energy. In reverse, it's a Jupiter and Gemini energy. So it's about liberating your mind, accepting a different point of view without judgment. So what Spirit's asking of you is to accept that there's a point of view about finances that basically is about attracting rather than working so hard, because the Knight of Pentacles is a working hard energy, and this is a let go of a single point of view, accept opposite points of view without judgment kind of energy. Spirit wants you to open up your mind to the idea that there's another way to do this, which I would say as a Sagittarius rising, you will get that super easy because you are naturally a learner. So that concept, I'm sure you will be so fine with, is opening your mind to a better way to do these things. It seems like what Spirit wants for you is a increase in ability to attract money, which is this heavy Seven of Pentacles energy. This is a heavy success energy. Sevens in Kabbalah Tarot represent like victory, strength, determination kind of energy. It's sevens a kind of a very abundant energy in the Kabbalah Tarot. So these two energies, the Four of Wands in reverse often asks us to heal by completing what is started, and this Seven of Wands energy, this is Marzi and Leo, and this is about choosing your battles wisely, but also calling on divine protection to assist you, and never letting ego choose or motivate you in any battles. So it seems like that Spirit wants you to engage in this idea around attracting abundance through a different way, and asking Spirit to call in things for you in terms of your success, and then kind of trusting the process and letting it go through its full fruition. Because a lot of the time when people start in this process of trying to manifest in a different way, especially finances, they kind of start but then stop. They start but then get cold feet, let fear or ego motivate them, and then things kind of go right and they're like not following the path anymore. What Spirit really wants for you is to engage in this I attract. I don't have to work so hard. Money is energy, and energy flows naturally to me. I am deserving of success, finances, blah, 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 blah. And sticking with it and not getting cold feet and abandoning this when things get hard, because sometimes because of, prior conditioning or like just fear or ego or something, like a lot of the time, like it can get super scary when you move from one kind of energy to the other. But honestly, like if you've ever wanted to like, try something different, make use of these energies. And you can kind of do it in any capacity. Like if you don't feel ready to, say for example, quit your job and like attract in another means of income, like that's so fine. Like stay in your lane for sure, because this is the Seven of Wands. Choose your battles wisely. Like choose your battles based on what you know you can handle for sure. But once you know that you're on a path in terms of changing your ideas and approach to attracting money, once you're on a path that you know kind of pushes you very slightly out of your comfort zone and challenges you to expand, but isn't so far out that it completely derails you and triggers you beyond kind of the ability to self-soothe, like stick to it. Don't abandon it once you're on that path. But yeah, Spirit definitely wants you to try less, no matter kind of like what level this is on, because it'll be a different level depending on your kind of healing and whatever you've got going on, other things that you're growing about and around. But yeah, Spirit definitely wants you to stop trying so hard. Like this Six of Swords is traditionally a movement kind of energy, but this coming in reverse with this Three of Swords energy, this is definitely about letting go of trying so hard, letting go of like hustling all the time, and embracing some rest, embracing that you deserve to have good things flow to you, and that when you can put out energy that you're really passionate about and that you love to put out there, like, you'll be met as an equal. So yeah, trying to shift that mindset. There may be a lot of fear and just sticky emotions that come up with this Three of Swords in reverse. Really just try and be as loving and accepting of those feelings as possible. Like, trying to deny them or ignore them won't help you. It won't get you anywhere any faster. This is not about blind, like, pushing through kind of energy. This has to come from a place of like trust, like genuine trust, not fabricated trust. It's the difference between toxic positivity and actual optimism, which I assume you'll be able to understand given that you're a Sag rising. Like, Sag risings really know the difference between optimism and toxic positivity, especially later in life. I think sometimes when they're young they can be a little bit more derailed, but yeah, that's something to be super mindful of. And know that a lot of this stickiness, this negative emotion with like shifting how you're approaching this, it's going to come from, like, it's not about you. It's about the toxic patterns that exist in the world and things that you've picked up on. This Five of Swords energy, this is a Venus in Aquarius energy, and it's definitely a healing via cutting losses, moving on, walking away from any toxicity, kind of energy. So any toxic patterns about money that you've picked up on, now's the time to let them go. If you've been like moving down a path towards financial success that doesn't feel aligned or authentic for you, now's probably a good time to like pivot, if you feel like you can, because the energies are really positive right now. So if you've been thinking about it, now's really the time to act on it. But yeah, just using your intuition as to whether or not you're ready for that. We also have this Three of Pentacles energy. This is a Mars in Capricorn, and this is definitely about letting go of control, but also embracing ambition, routine, self-discipline, and working with others. So definitely try not to do this alone. And do this in a smart way where you still have some form of ambition, discipline, routine. Like, it's not a let go of everything to abandon, like to complete abandon. It's about let going of things that are constricting and confining to upgrade yourself to like a new level of understanding and approaching this second house of owning. And a lot of this might be very reflective in the next month while Venus is in retrograde. Like, this might be heavily the topic of your journaling or meditating or just like realizations and stuff. But expect that when we come out of retrograde, when Venus stations direct, that there'll be a lot of room for you to shift if you've done the kind of self-reflection work. Yes, this is definitely a new beginning for you when it comes to approaching finances, for sure. There's definitely, like, follow the path as best you can. Follow what kind of feels good. Follow the opportunities. That's heavy Capricorn energy. It's following the opportunities wherever they lie. Follow what feels good for you, because what feels good for you is definitely going to direct you in to where you can attract more energy rather than having to work so hard for it. And know that there's going to be a lot of fear, a lot of story, a lot of resistance, a lot of challenge that will come up for you in this process. It's part of it. Feel your feelings. Definitely balance spirituality with practicality, as I've been saying before. This is like there's opportunity to be smart and responsible with it, but there's definitely room for improvement. So make sure you're not suffocating any room for improvement, but also make sure that you're not pushing yourself beyond where you're at and beyond your comfort level. Expect emotions to run high. Know that like making the most of the reflection and contemplation stage before you act is so fine. There'll be a lot of things that are from your unconscious, so like let them take time to reveal themselves. You're not in a rush. Venus will be in your second house for a while, especially given that it's retrograding before it again moves forward. So you've got so much time. Like, don't rush, but also be brave and bold and make the first move. It doesn't have to be a fast process, but just start somewhere. Yeah, so don't rush, but start somewhere. Allow yourself to have a lot of kind of downtime to reflect as you make moves too. And know this whole process will teach you things. There are probably going to be ways where things might fall apart. No, it's not a failure. It's part of the stepping stones to success. And this is why you need to be smart through the process, because things, when you're shifting big things like this, it tends not to be all hunky-dory. There's lessons to be learned. But yeah, you'll learn stuff. It'll be good, I promise, in the end. I allow myself to rest and I reap the benefits of my hard work. Yeah. All of the work that you're putting into up-leveling, trust it. You've been doing it for a reason. And yeah, things will flow to you more naturally than you might expect once you embrace rest. But I think I'm going to leave this here, Sag Risings. It's been a pleasure reading for you. My name is Jade Rewilding, and I'll be on this channel doing more readings like this. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to stick around for more like this. Until next time, ciao. Hi Capricorn Risings, welcome to your reading for what Venus retrograde is going to be activating in your life and love at the moment. Obviously Venus is a placement of love, of prosperity, of like kind of finances, possessions, relationships, and like femininity and beauty and things like that. And so all of this is happening in your first house of the self, identity. A lot of the time when Venus is transiting through the first house, it brings like lots of upgrades in terms of self-expression, like how you present yourself especially, but also how you communicate and connect to others. So it'll be definitely interesting to see how this retrograde is going to be affecting you, given that we don't experience necessarily a Venus retrograde every time it transits through our houses. So the retrograde energy is very introspective and reflective, whereas when Venus is direct, she's more external expressive. So I'm expecting there to be some themes around self, identity, expression, things like that. And we'll see what comes out for you guys in the tarot in regards to what might be coming up in life and in love with Venus in your first house. Spirit, can we please have some messages for Capricorn Risings in regards to the Venus transit through their first house? Okay, now this is a lot. We have some more messages for Capricorn Risings in regards to the Venus transit through their first house. Also clarify this moon energy, please. Capricorn risings, what's very interesting is that when Venus transits through the first house, like often this attracts in a new romantic partner, because Venus in the first house of self and identity can make us very charming and charismatic and just like very attractive individually. And definitely what came out is some heavy indicators of someone coming in, a romantic partner, probably some sort of soulmate connection based on this Two of Cups energy, and definitely someone who could potentially fulfill your dreams, your wishes based on this Star and Nine of Cups card. Now, Spirit's definitely asking you to kind of take it easy with this person though, move slowly, especially through the retrograde period. When the Star and the Hermit come out, because this Star card does have a fairly sexual kind of side to it, this can indicate choosing abstinence for some time based just on the nature of this reading. I assume this is choosing abstinence through the period of the Venus retrograde because there's some things that will be going on through the retrograde for you that will become overly complicated if you rush into things. It will definitely stop you from seeing things clearly, and it may affect the kind of end goal of this relationship or the outcome of this relationship negatively, just based on what the Venus retrogrades are. Like sometimes there can be things that are harder to see when it comes to love during Venus retrograde. So Spirit's definitely asking you to proceed with caution, even though this person will feel like a dream come true. There's a lot of room for you to do some healing and definitely be very honest with this person, connect with this person on a very deep level before kind of like making this connection official. Definitely wait till after the retrograde just based on these energies. So this Three of Cups, this is a Mercury and Cancer card, and this energy asks us to be open to abundance, align our heart and our mind, and practicing a lot of gratitude. So it'll be important for you while you're like connecting with this person to remember to stay aligned with your heart and mind, and to really take things easy, and just be grateful for the very slow unfolding of this connection. This is traditionally like more of a friendship energy, where this Two of Cups is more of a like romantic energy. So I would say that it's important that you become kind of friends first, like get some sort of like friendly energy together before you necessarily go through the whole like romantic aspect, because it's important that you build a foundation of trust with this person, because there's going to be some necessity for like very clear honesty with them in order to kind of start this connection on the best foot. So this Nine of Cups energy, this is the Jupiter in Pisces energy, and this again is kind of another gratitude energy in terms of being grateful for what you already have, but it's also a very abundant, satisfied kind of wish fulfillment energy. And coming out with this Two of Cups, I would say that this connection, it just feels like it's going to be amazing, especially because this Ten of Cups came out too. This is like pure alignment, happiness, joy, and just like really abundant love. It's like love manifested into a tangible form. It's like the kingdom of love kind of energy. However, this Hermit card is a heavy, like, shadow work kind of energy. And it seems like in the initial stages of this connection, there's an opportunity for you to do some shadow work, particularly around potential abandonment wounds. Eight of Cups traditionally is kind of an abandonment energy, or a kind of retreating from connection kind of energy, like returning to the self, especially the emotional self kind of energy. It's a Saturn in Pisces energy, so it asks you to return to the self, and definitely not be so externally focused, but it also asks you to move from any emotionally stagnant situation to the next lesson. So there may be some need to explore anywhere in yourself where you're feeling very emotionally stagnated and where you need to open up, so that it kind of doesn't slip by your consciousness moving into this connection, because there's a very good chance that this could be lying within your unconscious with this Moon card coming out in reverse. This is like traditionally more of like a femininity energy, but in reverse, a lot of the time it does refer to things that are hidden, things that are concealed within the unconscious especially. It's a Pisces kind of spiritual, deep kind of energy. And these are both cards of honesty. This Seven of Swords, this is a Moon in Aquarius energy, and this is about being honest, being true to your word, keeping secrets if they're kind of noble secrets, like not keeping any secrets that cause harm in any way. There's definitely a need for you to be honest with yourself and then honest with this person, for them to really understand where you're at, and for you to engage in the kind of next phase of your healing together with this person. So this World card is heavy Saturnian energy, so a lot of the time it refers to people that are very intentional, people that are part of our kind of path, our karma a lot of the time, and it's also about people that are supposed to be part of our covenant, part of our, you know, tribe, and also people that honor our truth. And so it definitely seems like there's a lot of potential for that in this spread. But yeah, I think there's a lot of conditions on it in terms of like you coming into this connection, just like very ready for it, and very ready to be like really honest and surrender to the work, and heal anything that's been kind of holding you back. We'll see if anything else comes out in the love oracles. Okay, so there's definitely space for you to heal any paradigms that you've been in regards to where you've either enabled others, been enabled any boundary violations that you might have experienced. If you've been in connections where you felt used, any connections that felt one-sided in terms of like someone being super self-centered and someone being super self-abandoning, there's potential to heal all of that in this connection. But unless you feel super safe, it's very likely that these paradigms could replay themselves, which is why Spirit definitely wants you to have this friendship foundation, this foundation of safety and honesty and openness with this person, so that it's actually possible to like have this connection that you want. Because essentially if you don't, like if you move too quickly with this connection, there's a good chance that it'll kind of play out the same one-sidedness that you potentially have experienced in the past. But Spirit wants you to learn from the past by not making fast moves, especially not in the retrograde with this connection, so that ultimately you'll be able to expand, move to a new phase, and prepare for a deeper and better union than potentially what you've had in the past, which is not possible unless you surrender to Spirit's advice, Spirit's plan, and surrender to slow. Like, what's the rush? What's the rush? There is no rush. There's only rush if you're coming from a place of fear, but you don't need to. This connection is wish fulfillment. It's beautiful. What are you afraid of? Usually our fear isn't actually about what we think it's about. It's about something else. But yeah, it seems like this connection is definitely part of your path. There's a very beautiful element to it that will bring you a lot of joy, a lot of happiness. There's, you know, a lot of really positive emotional energies. There is also a lot of opportunity for healing, so just be mindful of that. Yeah, there's a lot of fears to work through, especially around abandonment, making sure that you're not enabling or being enabled or having your boundaries violated or anything like that. And a lot of that will be based on fears that will create that kind of energy and that kind of relationship. So yeah, this connection will ask you to step out of your comfort zone. It'll ask you to do something different than potentially what you've done in the past or had in the past in connection. Oh, this is beautiful. Okay, so hope is always there, even if we can't see it. Optimistic expectations help change a negative situation into a positive one. Okay, so based on all of these really challenging energies, like the Eight of Cups and Hermit energy, it's important that you have hope through this process, especially the kind of taking it slow part initially, and remain optimistic, because if you don't remain optimistic, probably this negativity and fears will get the better of you. Don't worry, like if that happens, like Spirit will align something else for you. But if you would like this kind of opportunity to play out well, bring in some optimism. Like, you can't mess it up. If it so happens that you're not ready and there's some sort of kind of repeating of old patterns, like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Be optimistic about the next opportunity, because I promise it'll come. Okay, so your affirmations are: the universe and my inner self are harmoniously balanced, and I allow myself to let go and let the universe guide me. So yeah, it's hard to surrender to the divine will of the universe. The divine will of the universe is for you to take things slow, especially throughout the retrograde, potentially abstain for a while, build some sort of base with this person before you rush into anything, because this person definitely can be that wish fulfillment energy that you want, which is super beautiful. But I think I'm going to leave that there. I hope you got everything out of this reading that you really wanted and needed, Capricorn Risings. It's been a pleasure reading for you. My name is Jade Wilding, and I'll be on this page doing more intuitive tarot card readings like this. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to stick around for more of that. Until next time, ciao. Hi Aquarius Risings, welcome to your reading for what's happening for you in terms of love, life, and finances, or whatever else for this Venus transit through your 12th house. So for anyone who's a Aquarius rising, your Venus in Capricorn transit will be happening in your 12th house. This has a lot to do with the unconscious, any of our like dreams, illusions, imagination, any of our addictions, any ways that we're contributing to collective healing. So the pains that we've taken on from the collective to be seen and healed in this lifetime. So yeah, this is a very interesting place to have your Venus retrograde happening. So I'm very interested to see how this plays out for you and what comes up. Obviously during the period of retrograde, it's more of an introspective energy. So this is usually where you do a lot of reflection and like heal some stuff. And then when the Venus stations direct again, that's when things start to become more external and expressive. So with that in mind, we'll see what cards come out for you. Spirit, can you please have messages for Aquarius risings in reference to their Venus transit through their 12th house and or the retrograde in their 12th house. We have messages for Aquarius risings Your messages for Jesus. Your messages for Aquarius Risings. Can we clarify this Five of Wands energy? Sorry. Can you clarify this Five of Wands energy, please? And this Two of Wands energy, please. Oops, shouldn't have tried to catch that with my thigh. Oopsies. Aquarius risings, when Venus is transiting through the 12th house, a lot of the time it can start to illuminate things that may be coming up for you in regards to connections, in regards to love, that need to be seen at the very least, but usually cleared, healed, evolved in some way. What's kind of an advantage of having the retrograde in your 12th house, even though that sounds kind of challenging given that it's about like hidden realities and things from the unconscious, is that the introspective nature of the Venus retrograde will definitely help you see some things that may be kind of shooting you in the foot when it comes to connections. It'll definitely reveal some of your patterns to yourself so that you're able to heal them. And it seems like particularly what will come up in this particular retrograde in terms of like realizations, reflections, and introspections like that, will help you have better relationships in the future, especially relationships with people of a very high order nature, especially kind of like soulmate, twin flame kind of connections, or just like very light, long kind of karmic connections. The Lovers card is all about using our relationships as containers for spiritual development. They're about essentially using them as mirrors to allow us to heal and grow. And when things are being revealed to us from our unconscious, a lot of the time they might be challenging to see and heal initially, but once they've been seen and healed and integrated, a lot of the time it really causes a huge up-leveling when it comes to our approach to connection, and also the amount of happiness and connection that we can actually feel with another person. Like, we actually become more abundant in connection, we have more to give, we have more to receive, we're willing to receive more, and we usually have healthier connections, especially with this Three of Cups energy in reverse. So this is Mercury and Cancer energy, so a very intellectual, kind of communicative energy, and then a very feels energy. So definitely in this time there'll be opportunity for you to align your heart and mind. So what's going on for you emotionally, and then what's going on for you in your head, especially to do with any stories that you might have. Things will be revealed to you of that nature. And it's also an energy of opening up, and essentially being able to be a good friend, be a good support system, based on your own ability to be in alignment with heart and mind within yourself. Three of Cups is traditionally more of a like friendship energy, but essentially we can't be there for other people when we're really disjointed, when our heart and mind are not speaking to each other, when they're not connected. So this retrograde will definitely give you a period to kind of clarify what's going on for you in your heart and in your mind, so that you're able to connect and communicate with other people better, and definitely from a place of less judgment, of yourself and of other people. You'll be more open in general. You'll be more grateful for connection. You'll be more appreciative of the kind of nuances of connection. But what I would say is this Chariot card often refers to lessons about personal power and control issues. It's a very kind of like ego kind of energy, the Chariot, because this again is another Cancer energy, so another feels energy, another fourth house of the home, like family of origin, roots kind of energy. But it also relates to the solar plexus, which is like the will chakra, which is often kind of considered where the ego comes from, is this kind of place of will. It seems like there's probably going to be some need for you to surrender, some kind of feelings of, or some kind of patterns that you're in regards to power and control. Like power and control is definitely an issue for couples in relationships a lot of the time. And either feeling the experience of feeling disempowered in relationship in some way, whether that's real or not. But yeah, it's like a very vivid experience of kind of losing control in some way. That's definitely an issue that couples go through all the time. And it's definitely kind of a sabotaging energy that happens in relationship where people feel like they're being backed into a corner or feeling out of control or something like that. That's definitely a theme that will come up during this retrograde for you. And there's definitely some things to close there in terms of those energies, because the thing is, like, a lot of the time when it comes to experiencing being disempowered, like a lot of the time it's a projection of things from our childhood where we were disempowered then, and basically the answer is reparenting now and doing inner child healing now, and like, yeah, having things shift in the now based on how we are as an adult and not letting any childhood patterns kind of control the narrative. It's definitely a time to close anything like that that might be coming up for you, especially anything that feels like it's fueled by more ego than it is fueled by like genuine need. This Seven of Wands energy, this is a Mars in Leo energy, and this is definitely an energy of never letting the ego motivate you, because it creates no winner. So yeah, there's probably going to be some sort of like kind of ego death coming in this retrograde. It doesn't have to be a huge one, it might just be a small one, but some humbling of the self that allows you to show up in connection better. When the Death and Three of Swords come out, this can also indicate some challenges with jealousy. So there's definitely potential for any jealousy experiences to kind of be activated, or memories even to be activated that are asking you to see and heal those experiences. Usually they also come from a very similar kind of ego place, of like feeling disempowered or feeling not enough or something like that. These cards can also indicate needing to fully grieve and let go of any past connections in order to create space for a new one. It's not until we close past connections and learn our lessons from it, especially anything that was going on in the unconscious that we didn't realize at the time, it's important that we fully grieve and go through that whole process and close it so that we can be open for a new chapter. Especially with this Lovers card coming out, there's very likely going to be a new person or a new cycle with an old person coming in once the old cycle or past connection closes, through dealing with your stuff that might have come up during that connection, or potentially sabotage that connection or something like that. This Five of Wands is traditionally like kind of a radical responsibility card. It's a Saturn in Leo energy, and it's all about competing against the self rather than competing against other people, setting goals and achieving goals, as well as like rewarding the self and praising the achievements that you've been able to meet so far. In terms of spiritual development, it refers to kind of celebrating all the spiritual development that you've done so far, while also being very mindful of what's to come and taking responsibility for doing that work, and pushing through any self-imposed stories or limitations around continuing with the work. A lot of the time when this energy comes out, it's referring to someone who feels like they've done a lot and is kind of using that as an excuse to not do anymore. It seems like Spirit's asking you to continue and to persevere, because there's still more to go, and it seems like you've probably been through a lot, and Spirit gets that. But you've just got to, feel this kind of like humbleness and stay true to the path. Don't rush things. Don't let ego come into it too much. It's all about just surrendering to the path, letting things unfold, letting the healing reveal itself to you. There'll definitely be a lot revealed to you that will allow you to improve your relationships, and definitely feel safer to be more honest in relationships. This Two of Wands, this is traditionally like a very progressive energy. It seems like all of this work that Spirit's referring to is very important in terms of you progressing to kind of the next phase, especially in regards to the next phase of being able to be in connection in like deeper ways. This card's also about conflict resolution though. It's a Mars and Aries energy, and it's about learning how to be engage in healthy conflict resolution. So if there was any conflicts that arose in past connections, now might be a time where Spirit reveals to you how you could have resolved those conflicts in healthier ways. And it's important to really lean into that learning and be willing to apply that in your next connection. There may have been, if you resonate with this Queen of Wands energy, this energy is both Pisces and Aries energy. It's both water and fire. It's considered the most witchy of all the queens in the minor arcana. If you resonate with this energy, I would say that this is asking you to be more honest with yourself and potentially learn about your polarity when it comes to conflicts. I think when the Queen of Wands come out, it's important to know that she can be Piscean. She can be very empathetic, spiritual, and calm in connection, but she can also be very Aries, so very self-centered, stubborn, and self-righteous. And so I would say that these energies are asking you to be very reflective about how you are in connection and very honest. This Star card also is associated with honesty, and because this Two of Wands is a learning card, I would say that these energies are asking you to be way more honest, especially if you resonate with this Queen of Wands archetype. Even if you don't, even if you associate more with the masculine energy, understanding the oppositeness, the polarity that you can be in connection, especially in conflict. And if you heavily resonate with the divine masculine energy, using this Queen of Wands energy, who's very kind of courageous and passionate, using that energy to understand how someone else's contributions to a conflict might not necessarily be coming from a whatever ego projection you put on it, maybe considering that it could be coming from a place of care and connection and passion for the connection and desire to keep the connection going, just being open to that possibility. And if you shift into that perspective, how does that change how you view the conflict to begin with? But yeah, they're all the lessons that are likely to come out of this transit for you, all of you Aquarius risings. It's a lot of lessons to do with 12th house stuff. it's not necessarily like, I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a connection coming in during this time, but there's definitely a lot to be revealed in order to help you attract a connection very soon. So yeah, I'd focus on being single and doing the work essentially. That's heavy, very much this time with friends, moving on, happily single kind of energy. Just like, you do you, worry about you throughout this time, especially this Venus transit. Focus on your own healing. There'll be a lot coming up to you. It's actually probably not realistic for you to worry too much about being in connection or anything else right now. Just you worry about you. There's going to be a lot come up and be revealed to you because of this transit, this Venus in the 12th house transit. So like, don't overwhelm yourself by trying to do too much. Possibly delete dating apps. It's probably no point right now. There's just too much coming up for you to like be seen and healed. But know that like, all of this is trying to up level you, putting you on a new, making you much more secure and stable in connection, making, growing you so that you're going to be able to enjoy the next phase of connection. It's cool if you engage in like very casual connections. This key on a ring can often indicate one night stands. It's cool if you do that because what you're dealing with is stuff from the 12th house. It means that the things, like, it's obviously good in terms of the Venus transit going through, it'll reveal stuff to you in terms of love, but there'll also be like some stickiness because it is 12th house energy, it's subconscious energy. So if you find opportunities to connect with other people like more casually, like, it's fine to engage in that because sometimes we need like some sort of mirror reflection to actually be able to even see what's in this 12th house. So like, try not to avoid it. Like, if the opportunity like very organically arises, take it. But if you're trying to force it, don't worry about it. If it's too forced, it just means like not right now, like you've got too much going on right now. But if it happens very organically, it's likely that Spirit's trying to show you something that would be hard to reveal to you any other way. So yeah, kind of trust it and go with the flow of that. Okay, yeah, this will be a very challenging time. It's important that you have resilience to get you through this time, and trust that the end goal is likely to be better. Spirit can't protect you from more hurt unless you protect yourself from more hurt by doing more healing. A lot of the time, until we've healed something, Spirit kind of really like pushes on that injury to try and get us to see it. So yeah, you're not going to be protected until you kind of lean in. Believe in the impossible. I think this time will be a little bit dark, just given on all the stuff that's coming up. But believe that something good will come out of it, even though it'll feel really challenging at this time. Yeah, so lots of your personal issues will reach resolution. You'll heal a lot of stuff. This is more Cancer energy, so we had a lot of Cancer energy. So this is 4th house of the home, family of origin stuff. A lot of your Cancerian stuff is going to reach its resolution, which is nice. Love that for you. Can we get any more oracles for the Aquarius Risings, please? Okay, so we have divination. Okay, so because this is 12th house energy, this is Neptunian Pisces energy, this can be difficult to see. It's probably important for you to engage in more divination kind of activities. So automatic writing, journaling, meditating. You could do some tarot, you can do some astrology, like whatever divination you prefer. Rely on that, because like, you might even need to do a tarot spread particularly about your healing, because yeah, again, 12th house energy, a lot of things will be difficult to come to the surface, difficult to be seen, so you may need some help. So embrace tools to support yourself through that. So we have your affirmation as I allow myself to rest and I reap the benefits of all my hard work. So yeah, like try not to go too hard and fast with all this healing. Like this is going to be a lot. There'll probably be lots of times where you'll need to take kind of time outs and just like chill. This 12th house is of escape though, so make sure that you're not engaging in avoidance like for this whole retrograde period, because essentially you'll waste it. The retrograde is a perfect time to be introspective, but based on this energy it'll be introspective about hard things. So kind of take your time, rest, like keep it balanced, do the work, but don't overwhelm yourself to the point where you like fritz yourself out and you're like shot. It's all about balance, and so really honoring the voice within between hard work and rest will be really important. But I think I'm gonna leave that here. That's heaps to take away and consider for now. My name's Jade Wilding, and it's been a pleasure reading for you today. If you can like, comment and subscribe, I would really appreciate it, because it'll help me stay on your feed for more intuitive tarot card readings like this. But until next time, ciao. Hey Pisces Risings, welcome to your reading for any energies regarding life and love that will be activated for you during this Venus transit through your 11th house, especially any of those internalized energies that will be focusing on this house during the retrograde period. So the 11th house has a lot to do with like broader communities, connections, kind of like more collective karmic contracts and energies, and essentially about how we as an individual intend to contribute to kind of collective energies from more of like a soul contract energy. And unlike the 10th house that more has to do with like kind of what we're doing, the 11th house has more to do with like who we're connected to and like who we're intending to support or heal or contribute positively or negatively to people's lives. So yeah, 11th house energy is very connected energy with others. It often refers to things like social media, friendship groups, workplaces, and other communities. So that's where this energy will be active for you. But we'll get a tarot reading to let you know what might be going on kind of generally with this Venus transit in the 11th house, and also anything that you need to know in regards to the retrograde. Obviously that's where energies internalize. So there's usually a lot of like reflection and healing that comes with any retrograde, and for you this will be affecting reflection and healing for like groups. Can you clarify this 7 of Wands energy? Can you clarify this 10 of Wands energy? And the Two of Cups energy, please. Can you clarify the Two of Cups energy, please? So Pisces Risings, it looks like this for you is not going to be like a huge groundbreaking transit for the most part, because not a lot of major arcana came out, but the one thing that it is going to majorly shift for you definitely has to do with romantic relationships, but this is likely going to be lessons that you'll learn outside of a romantic relationship. Almost like think of it as lessons around providing a good foundation around a romantic relationship. So because the 11th house has to do with our kind of broader network of connections, but the Two of Cups came out, which is about obviously more intimate and romantic connections. It seems like there's definitely opportunity in this time to establish a better foundation around you to support any romantic connection that you either have been in, want to be in, or will be in the future. It is probably important though that you are either single at this time or really thinking about yourself as an individual entity, rather than being hung up on thinking about yourself as a part of a couple. So while the kind of goal is to create a really good support network for you around your love life, it's very important that you go into this period, this transit period, without like necessarily focusing on relationship. And we can tell that because this Magician came out in reverse. This energy is a Mercury energy. It's a very attentive energy. Right way up, it's like a very present, aware, kind of witnessing energy. In reverse, sometimes it can be a little bit more of a trickster energy. And it often refers to developing your own skills and interests as an individual, or benefiting from relationship counseling to improve communication skills, especially clarified by this Two of Cups energy. Like basically this coming out in reverse says there's some work to do on you as an individual in order to support you in connection. And what Spirit wants for you is for you to do this work through building a better kind of support network for yourself. You'll show up better in relationship when you have a better support network, essentially. So this Three of Wands is traditionally a separation energy. So you could be in separation from a connection. You could be just single right now. You could be willingly single, or you could be unwillingly single, just based on that energy. A lot of the time it refers to someone who's usually not as happy being single, but know that this period for you, even if you are in a relationship, heavily focus on like you stuff right now, and how you contribute to a network or community in a broader sense, because there's just some things that will essentially make you feel more fulfilled and will make you rely on relationships for things less. Like it seems like you might be over relying on connections to fulfill a lot of your needs that could be met by broader communities, or like better networks, or better friendship groups, or like different relationships with your family or something like that. This Four of Cups upside down is traditionally a kind of feeling unfulfilled kind of energy. It's a Moon in Cancer energy, so a lot of the time it has to do with like kind of deep troubles with this sort of stuff. Right way up, it's like feeling completely fulfilled to the point where you just like totally trust that everything that you need is going to be there for you. But in reverse, a lot of the time it indicates a lack of trust that everything's going to be there for you, usually because there's some sort of pattern in your life where you have had periods of lack for whatever reason. And I would just say, based on the nature of this reading, this 11th house energy, this is probably lack to do with just like support in general. So this might be from family, friends, and like systems and workplaces in the past. But yes, Spirit is asking you to work on this like general like energy of lack in your life in any way. The Seven of Wands is traditionally kind of like a very doing energy. It's a Mars in Leo energy, and it's really about choosing your battles wisely and relying on spirit to support you. And it seems like a lot of this kind of lack energy is just like there's a little bit of lack of faith in spirit to support you, and spirit wants you to know that spirit is here to support you, but it can only support you in ways that you allow it to, essentially. And so when you figure out what goals you have in order to feel loved, nurtured, and kind of emotionally available with very realistic expectations, then spirit will be there for you. And if you're feeling stuck with this energy, usually it's a good idea to start doing more creative things and start putting yourself out there in different ways, to start basically collecting data to negate what your automatic thought might be. If you can collect data in the opposite of whatever negative automatic thinking that you might have, that's a really great start. So this Nine of Pentacles, this is a Venus in Virgo energy, and it's basically acting like you deserve the best in the world, because the best in life because you do. A lot of the time when it comes out right way up, it's really embracing all that life has to offer, and really trusting in what life has to give you and what life can possibly manifest, especially with this Page of Pentacles coming out. This is a very youthful manifesting energy, and so I would say that there's definitely some opportunity to kind of get back into more of a beginner's mindset when it comes to manifestation and like what's possible for you to manifest. Especially with this Ten of Wands energy. This is Saturn in Sagittarius energy, and this is about overcoming old patterns and essentially like starting new when it comes to any kind of healing or any more divinely inspired way for you to live. This is a very like kind of starting over energy, and yeah, this is like things coming into fruition in alignment to that kind of innate desire and innate inspiration, is essentially kind of like making things manifest. So one of the things about these energies though is there's a fair bit of like kind of Mercury energy here, or just a lot of thinking energy with lots of swords coming out. Pisces is in fall. Mercury's in fall, sorry, in Pisces. It's like kind of a challenging energy for Pisces rising. So it could be good to engage in things that kind of like up your air energy to start to practice this sort of stuff. You can start practicing like doing things that are more like intellectual and or communicative with this King of Swords energy. This is kind of like more of a Gemini energy, so it's very much about kind of third house thinking and communication. And anything you can do to kind of up that energy will definitely help. Because, yeah, Piscean energy can be very Neptunian, very dreamy, very imaginative, which will be good for this kind of energy in terms of like recalibrating what you want. Like it'll definitely help you dream up some better scenarios for yourself. The thing that kind of usually trips Pisces energies up is getting the thinking right, because Piscean energy can get a little bit caught up in whatever the kind of more cups and feeling energy is. And so then the thinking energy usually suffers in some way. So yeah, really working on this kind of like more intellectual communicative energy. And again, this Magician upside down often refers to spending time developing your own skills and interests and benefiting from relationship counseling to improve your communication skills. Definitely find some things of that persuasion to support you, especially if you're in a separation from a connection right now. This will be like even more important for you to like work through some stuff, especially the communication element of it. And just like build a better network, like build a network of support so that when you are in connections, you aren't relying on that connection for as much because you have outsourced a lot more of it. Like you've got people to support you and like other interests and hobbies and skills and things around you to essentially provide a better foundation. But let's get some. Okay, so there's a very good chance that there's a partnership either coming in or returning, especially with this Two of Cups energy. Something that's going to be like super secure, super stable, help you grow, and give you like a really good foundation in terms of connection. But Spirit wants you to provide your own kind of connection, own kind of foundation for that connection. Okay, so in terms of this connection that's coming in, it seems like there's going to be a lot of giving and receiving love, falling in love, a lot of seduction, but this person's likely to be a very intense mirror for you. And so it's going to be really important that you have kind of things set up in your corner to support you with dealing with this energy, because it's likely that this is going to get intense, especially given that your Venus transit will go through the 12th house of like the unconscious before it goes through the first house of self. So there potentially could be some more sticky things for you still to come. So making sure that you have that support network to support you with any kind of challenge that this connection might bring, especially when it transits through your next house. It seems like this girl talk energy is basically like having your tribe, and knowing who you can rely on for support. And this self-indulgence is making sure that you do lots of shadow work, and you worry about what you need, and definitely don't over rely on a partner to give you what you need. Okay, so I think there's some room for acceptance in terms of like, so the Piscean energy, as I was saying before, can be a bit dreamy. It can be a bit unrealistic when it comes to what's realistic expectations from a partner. And this is, again, this kind of like Four of Cups energy, this moon in Cancer energy. When it comes out in reverse, it can indicate someone with unrealistic expectations or standards in connections. And that essentially can be fueling a feeling of being unfulfilled because your expectation in terms of like how you're being fulfilled is unrealistic. That's not to say you compromise your needs. It just means that you compromise on how you get those needs met. So yeah, there's definitely some blossoming, coming to power energy happening for you at the moment. I think there's a lot to be grateful for in terms of like how much work you've been doing, and kind of how well set up you are now to continue to do work. But yeah, don't let pride get in the way. Spirit is warning you. It's definitely possible. So just like be mindful of like, I'm sensing for you it's potentially more of like a tendency to go more towards the victim mentality rather than go too far towards the like self-important mentality. But both of those things are kind of like two sides of the same coin. They're both kind of avoiding that like realism middle. So your next oracle is Precious Time. The Fairy Oracle wants you to experience every moment fully and make the most of your precious time. Be mindful not to waste other people's time either. So I think it'll be important when you're building a better foundation to make sure you're contributing equally to others, and that others are contributing equal to you, like really valuing like your own time, other people's time, and just like, are you engaging with connections that make sense and actually support you? Or is it a connection that essentially needs to be let go of? Like, I think this will be a heavy refining your social circle energy. But yeah, it is important that you reflect a lot more in the Venus retrograde period and then act a lot more when Venus goes direct again. But your affirmation is, I am in full control and I have the power to attract all that I desire. But I think I'm going to leave that there, Pisces energies. I hope you enjoyed this reading. It has been a pleasure reading for you. My name is Jade Rewilding, and I'll be on this channel doing more intuitive tarot card readings like this. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to stick around for more like that. Until next time, ciao. Hi Aries Risings, welcome to your reading for what's happening in life and love during this Venus transit through your 10th house. Especially what's happening in regards to retrograde energies, or when that energy becomes more internalized and self-reflective, and then what might happen externally when that Venus goes back direct, when Venus stations back direct, and all those energies start to externalize. So the 10th house of the world obviously has a lot to do with what we agreed to do here in life, like how we agreed to contribute to the tapestry of life, how we agreed to contribute to mankind in some way, especially through shifts in consciousness, or like feeling, vibration, or whatever. So Venus transiting through this 10th house for you will probably put on a bit more of a like kind of either feminine or relational or like connection kind of energy to your 10th house energy. So it might be interesting to know like kind of what placements and things that you have in your 10th house, and also what sign rules the 10th house for you, to know what kind of particular energy Venus will be contributing to this energy. But we're going to do a general reading now for Aries Risings regarding this Venus energy and how it's going to be affecting your 10th house through this transit, and also through this retrograde period. Spirit, can we please get messages for Aries Risings in regards to what's happening for them in terms of life and love in this Venus transit and retrograde? A lot of reversals for you guys. Clarify this Temperance energy, please. So Aries Risings, there's going to be things in this transit that come up to do with either your current connection, if you're in a romantic relationship, especially if that relationship is very committed, or there's going to be kind of practice energies come up for you that will kind of signify potential changes that you will need to make in terms of your 10th house of the world energy when you do enter into a long-term commitment. Because these Lovers and Hierophant cards, when these energies come out, these usually indicate some sort of like either marriage, long-term commitment kind of energy, because the Hierophant rules like tradition and ritual, which is obviously the more kind of like celebratory ceremony aspect of weddings, or just like the kind of ritual around asking someone to be your long-term partner or move in, or, you know, something like that. But the thing is, it seems like this is either not happening now, this commitment, it's either happening in the future, or it's potentially already happened, but there's a shift that needs to occur in terms of your 10th house energy based on this kind of love connection. It seems like it's potentially going to require you to do a lot of shadow work in regards to what this 10th house actually means to you, how you want to show up in the world in this 10th house energy. Because, yeah, either getting into a connection or the state of your current connection is asking you to shift in this regard in some way. Like there's some sort of pressure to shift this 10th house of the world energy for you now. And it looks like in this retrograde period, it's going to ask you to do a lot of shadow work and just like self-reflection in terms of kind of changing the energy of this house to be more authentic for you. So these two energies are giving me a similar vibe. So this Hermit card is traditionally kind of a shadow work energy. It's heavy Virgo energy. So a lot of the time it has a lot to do with thinking about your lifestyle and routine, which Virgo rules, especially kind of how you on a day-to-day kind of serve others and support others, as well as how you serve and support yourself with like whatever daily rituals that you practice. And also like, yeah, being super reflective. This is also like got this kind of like Mercury energy, which rules Virgo. So like definitely thinking about especially how you relate to others on a day-to-day basis, but just like doing some general kind of reflection and like inner work. This Temperance energy, this is Sagittarius energy. And the Temperance card is basically integrating the higher self and the 3D self. Sagittarius rules the ninth house of spiritual development and faith and travel and like philosophy and learning, and essentially like kind of bettering the self. And the Sagittarius is represented by a centaur, which is half man, which is supposed to represent higher consciousness, and half horse, which is supposed to represent the animal within, but the very divine animal within and the very intentional animal within. And this is essentially what the Temperance energy is all about. This is why it's traditionally a balance and harmony card, because we only really, like, the point of our life is not to feel happy as much as it's not to feel sad. It's about feeling serene and feeling really well balanced between very opposing energies within the self. And so yeah, these two coming out together definitely tells me that something's out of balance right now. Something's not making you feel peaceful. Something needs to be reflected on, looked at, especially how you live your day-to-day life, in order to basically represent your truth. Like Sagittarius is a very truthful energy. That's kind of why it's known for being like very boldly truthful and often saying things very bluntly. It's a heavy like honoring your truth energy. So Spirit definitely wants you to reflect on what would be your truth in the 10th house of the world. So for example, if you were paid $5 million a year, but you had to do something for 40 hours a week, what would you actually want to do? Because that to me is going to be more authentic for you. And if you're not sure, like journal, like reflect, use this retrograde energy to like internalize this more and like unpack this more. But yeah, now's definitely a time for change. This 10 of Swords, this is a Jupiter in Gemini, no, Sun in Gemini energy. And it asks us to like start again under a whole new paradigm. The 10 of Swords, it can represent like loss and defeat, sometimes more so when it's in reverse, but a lot of the time what it represents is kind of like you're reaching the end of something, like you've kind of squeezed all the juice out of the lemon and you essentially have to start with a new lemon. So that can be challenging. It can be challenging to shift from one paradigm to the next, which is why this card is not always a easy card in a reading. It's essentially like time to start anew, start again, start in a new paradigm, like find something else that fits you better and reflects who you are better, and start working with that energy instead. This Magician energy, this is another Mercury energy. It's a very thinking, communicative energy. Right way up, it's about being very present, aware, and witnessing. I would say, based on this energy coming out, upside down, clarified by this Ten of Swords, that maybe there needs to be a little bit more presence and awareness integrated, like especially in regards to shifts that need to be made into like new paradigms of existence. And the Magician as well, when it's upside down, can indicate some sort of work that needs to be done in order to like essentially not be as much of a space cadet. Like sometimes we can start to dissociate when we've reached this kind of level, but are too scared to move on to the next one. So yeah, this energy is asking us to, like asking Aries Risings to up level in some way and to essentially be brave, pull the pin, make the move, and don't hesitate, just do. It seems like, so this Lover's energy clarified by this Death in reverse. So Death right way up often represents kind of like newness, especially new cycles, like sprouting activity kind of life. But when it comes out in reverse, especially clarified by this Lover's card, it usually means some sort of stickiness, stagnation, reaching some sort of like precipice, but not being able to pull the trigger in terms of making moves, which is a very similar energy to this Magician coming out in reverse. There's some sort of shift that needs to be made in terms of this 10th house energy that's going to benefit this connection in some way, whether you're in this connection or whether you're going to be in this connection in the future, or whether you would like this connection to kind of level up when it comes to the next stage of commitment. Whatever your situation is, to essentially evolve this connection in some way, you definitely need to evolve your 10th house of the world energy, because it seems like there's not going to be a match between you and your person, and you're potentially going to have very conflicting ideas about who does what. And this is definitely where you guys need to communicate with all this kind of like Mercury air energy. This is like heavy kind of communication energy. Like you guys need to if you are in connection already, like communicate, work out like expectations versus like versus like needs, reality, and all that sort of stuff to basically figure out how you're going to navigate this energy to make sure things are like fair and everyone's needs are getting met. And if you are single, you kind of have an advantage in a way, because this energy will be more that thinking side of the Swords energy and thinking side of the Mercury energy, in terms of like thinking about what you want and making sure that you're honoring those truths when you do come into connection. In terms of like how you want this 10th house energy to look for you, and how you're going to play that energy out when you get into a connection with someone. What you'd like them to contribute, what you'd like to contribute, whether that's splitting everything 50-50 in terms of like career, housework, and like emotional labor of the connection, or if you want to do one does the other, and figuring out how to navigate that, especially given the kind of world that we live in, and the standards of like capitalism, sexism, and any of those sort of isms that are going to affect kind of the equity of those choices, and how to make those choices as equal as possible in the systems that are inherently unequal. So yeah, there'll be a lot of need for seeing two sides of the story. This Two of Swords energy is a heavy, like taking in opposite sides of the coin, and like opposite points of view a lot of the time, and like rectifying them to like kind of really seeing where each other's coming from. I am sensing for a lot of you here that you might resonate with this Queen of Pentacles energy. So she's the eternal mother. Like, she's someone who I would say if she had a choice for like $5 million a year to do 40 hours a week, she would choose either being a mother, being a housewife, being like a trophy wife, because she does have this very Empress, self-indulgent, self-care kind of side as well. That's what she would choose. Now, if you resonate with this energy, like, it'll be important for you to think about if this is what you want and this feels like a more true expression of this 10th house energy. What would your 10th house be? Aries rising. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius. I think that's right. So you're Sagittarius in the 10th house. So Sagittarius in the 10th house is a lot about personal development. So, you know, like in terms of like, and Sagittarius is also about truth. If this is your truth, it's going to be super important that you honor it right now. Like, honor your truth and find a way to make this work. If you don't resonate with this Queen of Pentacles energy, if you resonate more with, say, either King of Pentacles energy, who's more of like protective provider kind of Emperor energy, like what you would be reflecting on more is the fact that if your natural energy is more of that persuasion, there's kind of an inherent privilege with that, given that the world is kind of set up to kind of see you more and understand and respect you more, as well as compensating you more in terms of social status and finances, and like all that sort of stuff. Like, if you're more of this opposite energy, something to really think about in terms of making this 10th world energy work is if you're more of this opposite energy, and your partner's maybe more of this Queen of Pentacles energy, like how do you make that equitable for them? And if you're more of this Queen of Pentacles energy, how do you honor your truth, while also being mindful of the many disadvantages that systemically will be placed on you, and how do you navigate that with your partner, so that the two of you, so that it's kind of like equitable and fair. And this is kind of this balance energy that we're trying to get to, essentially. So yeah, there's a lot to think about for Aries risings in regards to just like how to make this energy work a lot better. Like, I would suggest not making any moves until the retrograde's over, and to just heavily communicate and reflect while the retrograde is on, remembering that communication can get a little bit distorted if you are in connection. So yeah, just like being open and mindful that you may have to revisit conversations several times, even after this period, but it is a really good time to do a lot of self-reflection and self-discovery in some way. So this Knight of Wands energy, this is a Moon in Sagittarius energy, and this is about establishing boundaries and living within your boundaries. So this will definitely be an important energy in terms of like figuring out how to honor your truth and how to live as much in that truth as possible in this life. And then this Chariot energy, this is traditionally a Cancer energy, and like I do think of the Chariot as kind of a challenging card, because often it refers to making moves from a place of your own conditioning, because Cancer rules the 4th house of the home and our family of origin and roots energy. So especially in reverse, it can refer to making moves from your own conditioning rather than making moves from what you really want for yourself, and what feels good and comfortable and authentic. That's kind of like more Chariot, dignified or right way up energy. So yeah, just it'll be super helpful you to just keep in mind that boundaries and honoring a truth that's free from conditioning will be challenging. So it might be worth exploring what that conditioning actually is regarding the 10th house of the world while this retrograde period is happening, because this love energy will turn inward. And because it's such a relational energy, anything that you've picked up about this 10th house energy from family of origin in that relationship with your care providers in early life should be able to be seen a little bit more clearly. Okay, so one of those patterns is probably a runner-chaser dynamic. So that's something that definitely needs to be explored, especially if you're carrying pain from either this connection, past connections, or anything like that. It's definitely a time to kind of feel all the feelings and grieve, mourn, and move on as best as possible. And again, it's definitely a time for conversing and kind of illuminating to a partner, if you have a partner, or just like revealing to yourself like what these patterns are. A lot of the time, like in traditional kind of homes, we see masculine energies playing out this runner energy where they're very avoidant, and then the feminine energy playing out this chaser energy. This is usually the energy of someone doing way too much. Usually this is someone who's doing like all the emotional labor, most of the physical labor, most of the care for the home, usually isn't paid as much, usually is more reliant on the runner because the runner has more money, social status, things like that. So yeah, this is a very common and unhealthy dynamic when it comes to nuclear family / capitalism life. So yeah, that's something definitely to think about. But Spirit's asking you to evolve it, to heal any inner child wounds like this in this time, or at least be very aware of them so that you can heal and grow. We have, okay, so a lot of this work is actually about the future for you. I'm getting for a lot of you. So this current transit, it might feel a little bit weird that you're doing so much work on the 10th house in regards to a future dynamic that's not even here yet. But yeah, it's about kind of beginning the change now, so that when you do get to that period where you're ready to settle down in some way, like that you're essentially prepared for it, and you know what you want, and you're ready to make things work in an easier way. Like essentially, like you could kind of let this Venus transit pass you by and not do any work, but it'll just make things harder down the line. Spirit wants to kind of grow you and prepare you for some things using this energy. It wants to maximize the possibilities in terms of using this energy while this transit's in this house, and while it's both direct and in retrograde in this house, because each energy is beneficial in different ways. But yeah, know that this is about creating a different romantic cycle, especially a different romantic cycle than anything that's been presented to you from the past. And know that luck is on your side with this Sagittarius energy. There was a fair bit of Sagittarius energy in this spread, given that Sagittarius rules your 10th house, I think. I'm pretty sure I figured that out right. Sometimes I forget signs though. So yeah, Spirit's like definitely trying to guide you and honor your truth more in this area of your life. It's definitely trying to maximize this Venus transit energy to transform this house energy for you. So, because not every house experience both a Venus direct and a Venus retrograde all that often, because Venus can move through more than one house before it goes retrograde again. It just depends on when it goes retrograde and what degree it is and blah 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 blah. So it like depends on lots of things, but yeah, Spirit's trying to make the most of both of these energies. This Venus internalizing a lot, especially about relationships that have taught you things about the 10th house, and then also the external energies. So yeah, just surrender to the process. Follow any guidance that's sent your way. I'm assuming if you're sent here, it was for a reason. But your affirmations, Aries Risings, is my inner being is connected to the divine wisdom of the universe. I cleanse my entire being. I'm free from negative energy. And I accept and release everything in my life that is beyond my power to change. But I think I'm going to leave that there. I'm pretty sure this is the longest reading I've done so far. There was like more messages for you than there was for other people, or other rising signs at least. So I'm going to leave that there. My name is Jade Rewilding. It's been a pleasure reading for you. And I would love if you could like, comment, and subscribe so that you'll see me again on your feed very, very soon. Until then, ciao. Hi Taurus Risings, welcome to your reading for what's happening in life and in love during this Venus transit, especially the Venus retrograde. As you may or may not know, when the Venus planet goes retrograde, it internalizes a lot of its energies, and when it's direct, it externalizes a lot of its energies. So its energies are to do with femininity, love, life, relationships especially, and anything to do with like the beauty or care or anything like that. So it's a very just like connected energy. Your Venus transit is happening in your 9th house of faith, spiritual development, travel, philosophy. It's heavy Jupiter expansion and Sagittarius kind of learning energy. And so your Venus transit, when it's direct, will probably have a lot to do with spiritual development when it comes to either relationships or like self-love, self-care, things like that, especially just given this heavy Taurus energy. This is also a very self-love, self-care kind of thing. So there may be a tendency towards that kind of a transit for you guys. But when it's in retrograde, Venus is likely to illuminate things to you that are not going super well in terms of like either self-care or relationships, especially that kind of more evolved version of you, or the possibility of an evolved version of you. But we'll find out exactly what Spirit wants to let you know about this Venus transit using our traditional tarot. But yeah, just know that your particular transit is through your 9th house of spiritual development. Spirit, can we please have messages for Taurus Risings in regards to what's happening in life and love during this Venus transit? Can you clarify this Hermit energy, please? And this Queen of Swords energy. So Taurus Risings, this transit for you is definitely going to illuminate some stuff regarding your attitudes towards self-care. There may be some areas where there's a little bit of self-care and self-consideration that's lacking for you at the moment. There's some places where you need to kind of evolve spiritually in this area. And what this Venus transit is going to do, especially when it goes retrograde, is illuminate to you some of your patterns when it comes to your own self-care, illuminate some things that are in the shadow for you to witness, for you to accept, for you to heal, for you to approach with a whole new energy. This 10 of Swords energy, this is a Sun in Gemini energy, and a lot of the time it refers to us either experience some sort of like loss or block or like end of some kind, and a necessity to kind of evolve and start on a new paradigm. Especially coming out in reverse. A lot of the time it means we've kind of squeezed all the juice out of the lemon on this level, and we need to start on a new lemon, especially with this World card coming out in reverse. Like when the World comes out upright, a lot of the time it indicates learning new, like finishing learning your lessons and moving on. But it seems like there's, in terms of self-care, like you're definitely not done yet. There's a paradigm shift that needs to occur in order to like learn some sort of important lesson about the self, especially considering this is happening in your 9th house of spiritual development. So this Queen of Pentacles, she's the Eternal Mother. She's kind of got a very Eve-ish kind of quality to her, a very Empress kind of quality. She's traditionally very like nurturing, mothering energy right way up, but in reverse it usually indicates someone who's very either self-indulgent and like cares too much about themselves and like has the self-care dialed way too far up, and doesn't care enough about others, or it indicates the opposite. It can indicate someone who completely abandons the self in order to support and please others, and doesn't care for herself equally as she does for other people. So that could be like either energy could be you. It's more likely that you flip-flop between the two. People tend not to be in one box or the other for most of these things. They tend to have a tendency and then like flip to the other extreme under certain circumstances. But yeah, this pattern of yours needs to shift, and you need to either come into a bit more balance, or kind of just, if you are in one extreme, maybe shifting to the other extreme, even just for a while, just to kind of learn some lessons. Because yeah, there's some things that aren't sinking in, and it's definitely affecting your spiritual development. And there's definitely some things that Spirit wants to teach you and for you to reflect on. This Hermit energy is heavy Virgo energy, and it is a very reflective card. So I'm assuming that this will happen mostly in the retrograde period. It'll definitely not be a time for inspired action, but a time for very honest self-reflection. Because there seems to be some things that maybe at this point you're not perceiving very clearly when it comes to self-care. And those two things, these energies here, this Two of Swords, this is a Moon in Libra energy. And in reverse, it usually signifies someone who's not necessarily in heart and mind alignment, and definitely someone who's either like exuding some sort of like hyper independent energy, or someone who's around people that are draining their energy. One or the other. It's kind of these two extremes again. So yeah, this might not be super obvious to you, but during this retrograde, it's likely that this will be illuminated to you, ways that people around you are draining your energy and you're overgiving to the point of exhaustion, and or areas where you are like too independent to a fault, where you're not thinking about you in terms of your relationship to others. You're like overly selfish. Maybe this is happening only in one area. Maybe you're just like more of the other, like take whatever resonates, leave whatever doesn't. And then this Five of Cups energy, this is a Mars in Scorpio. So this is an energy that definitely has potential for a lot of transformation. And it's usually indicates someone who needs to have the courage to explore pain, any grief that they might feel, and just like any feelings that need to be felt in any way, and just going through all stages of grief and blocking and unblocking any blocked prana, any blocked life force within the body. A lot of the time when people are sitting in these extremes of either caring about themselves too much to the abandonment of others, or they're abandoning themselves too much for the care of others. Like a lot of the time there's underlying feelings that are motivating that behavior, either feelings of like not enoughness or something like that. And you can be feeling not enoughness and manage that with either behavior. Like you can feel not enough and then overdo it on the self-care, or you can feel not enough and underdo it on the self-care. Like it's one feeling or the other is not necessarily indicative of which extreme you're in. Like that definitely requires personal reflection, and each person will have their own truth based on the context of their life. But yeah, know that Spirit's trying to teach you things for sure in this period, and probably in the retrograde period it'll be more like intellectual stuff. This night is a very youthful, communicative and thinking energy, and so this is definitely an energy that usually shows that Spirit's trying to teach or evolve someone in some way, and I would say this will be kind of your energy in this time, just like thinking differently, and learning new things about yourself and uncovering depths. This Queen of Swords energy, she is right way up. She's a perceiver of deep truths, but in order to kind of get to this energy where you're able to perceive these deep truths kind of more naturally or easily, you definitely need to start somewhere, and Spirit's going to start you with like kind of a new intellectualizing or a new understanding of these patterns that you've been in. But let's get some more oracles for you, Taurus risings. Okay, so as I've been saying a fair bit, there's some extremes that have come out in this reading, so you might not so this card will either indicate that you're in one of those camps and you're very extremely in one side or the other right now, and Spirit's trying to alter that, or it might indicate that you move in extreme. Like it's not necessarily that you fall on either end, but you just make extreme shifts between the two. So yeah, that's definitely something Spirit's trying to rectify in you right now. For anyone who is an overgiver to the point of abandon, Spirit's trying to ask you to instigate some more boundaries. And for anyone who's over prioritizing themselves to the abandonment of others, that's not a boundary, that's a wall. Make sure you know the difference between what's a wall and what's a boundary. Boundaries show people where the door is, walls keep people out. Yeah, there might be some resistance in some of these lessons. Spirit wants you to know that if you don't learn them now, your next two houses have a lot to do with soul contracts and the unconscious that Venus will transit through next. So just be mindful that if you resist like kind of maximizing on this Venus in the 9th house energy, there will be consequences as Venus transits through other houses, because it kind of has to get better, like worse and deeper before it gets easier for you guys, because you've still got 10th, 11th and 12th houses to go, which are very much about collective energies. And if you're not kind of setting yourself right in terms of collective energies while this Venus is transiting through this house, you're going to have a tough time in the next houses, which are very collectively focused. So be careful of anywhere where you're trying to dig your heels in. This is definitely a time to take action and to work with these energies really positively and intentionally. Like obviously if you pass, you pass. It's just Spirit's asking you not to pass if you possibly can, if you're passing for any not good reason. Especially if you're passing because you don't feel confident. Spirit wants you to know that you hold all the keys to success, and it's very unlikely that you will fail. So yeah, if fear of failure or fear of change is holding you back, or even fear of your own ability to change is holding you back, it's time for you to have more confidence in yourself, because Spirit is confident in you, in your ability to make these shifts for sure. Okay. So yeah, Spirit's trying to benefit your life energy, make things a bit like either lighter or fun or just better in some way. This music card often can refer to using music to your advantage. Like sometimes when we're doing really hard work that we feel really overwhelmed with, we can like kind of reprogram ourselves by choosing kind of pop songs that, or just like songs that we like from whatever genre we like, that basically the lyrics are giving us our intention without us having to think about it too much. Like, just cultivate your playlist wisely. Cultivate a playlist that kind of aligns with what work you want to do, because subconsciously that will enter into your mind and give you a lot of help in terms of like aligning with these energies. But your affirmations, Taurus Risings, is I trust in the divine guidance of my inner wisdom and all the answers exist within. And I see all circumstances as a gift that allow me to grow. So yeah, really trust this growth and this opportunity to grow right now, and know that Spirit's trying to help you uncover some stuff from within that's going to make your life easier, I promise. But I think I'm going to leave that there, Taurus Risings. I hope you got everything out of this reading that you really wanted and needed, or I hope you were entertained at the very least. My name's Jade Rewilding, and it's been a pleasure reading for you today. I would love if you could like, comment, and subscribe to keep me on your feed for more readings like this. But until then, ciao. Hi Gemini Risings, welcome to your reading for what's happening in life and love during this Venus transit through your 8th house. So as you may or may not know, Venus is the planet of love, femininity, beauty, self-care, and lots of that kind of relationally nature stuff. The 8th house has a lot to do with beginnings and endings, but also like sex, metaphysics, things that are hidden and mysterious. It is ruled by Scorpio, Mars, and Pluto. Gemini energy, which you'll probably be familiar with, corresponds with the 3rd house of communication and kind of like understanding the basics of how things work in life. It's a heavy Mercury energy, given that it's ruled by Mercury. So it's like more of a thinking energy. But yeah, when Venus transits through the 8th house, when it's direct, so when it's not in retrograde, usually this brings changes in like either sex or revealing hidden things, especially to do with relationships. And yeah, it can shed a lot of lights on these more feminine relational energies in your life, and reveal some things to you. When it's in retrograde, that's kind of when it's a bit more introspective and reflective. So anything that's kind of more challenging to see, usually that's the best time to try and understand things more deeply and reflect a bit more deeply on things. But we'll see what comes out of our tarot reading for Gemini Risings in regards to what's happening in life and love. While Venus transits through your 8th house of beginnings and endings. I'm just not 100% certain if I shuffled these cards properly before I started this recording after I did the Taurus reading, so I'm just going to quickly do a proper shuffle before I start my normal shuffle. Alright, Spirit, could please have messages for Gemini Risings in regards to what's happening in life and love? Well, okay, so this Death card corresponds with this 8th house, beginnings and endings, Scorpio kind of energy, and 2 of Cups. This is heavy Venus energy, particularly to do with relationships though, especially intimate relationships, usually higher order relationships, given that it's more of a soulmates kind of energy. I kind of regard this 2 of Cups as like more soulmates energy. The Lovers card is more twin flame energy. And there's lots of other relational energies in the deck that give me usually kind of more karmic relationship energy. But yeah, with this in reverse, sometimes this doesn't indicate necessarily like a soulmates or the one energy. So we'll just see what else comes out, because the context of the cards drastically changes the meaning. Clarify this Knight of Wands energy. And this King of Swords energy, please. Gemini Risings, this Venus through the 8th house transit is definitely going to bring some change to either relationships conceptually to you or any relationships that you might be in, especially if they're not serving you or aligned with your best interests or higher purpose. There's definitely potential during this Venus transit for things to fall apart, and definitely if there's reasons for things to kind of fall apart, they'll probably be illuminated to you during the retrograde, and potentially hold off until acting until Venus goes direct again, just to make sure that there's no cloudiness or murkiness in terms of what that action will be. So definitely maximize this retrograde energy to reveal to you anything that needs to be revealed, because this 8th house energy definitely will reveal hidden things. But yeah, be very mindful of when to act, because it may not necessarily be the best time to act during this retrograde for you. But ironically, what I just find so interesting is that the Death card and Two of Cups cards were first cards that came out. This is a Venus in Cancer energy, which is obviously this energy here, and this Death card corresponds with Scorpio energy and the 8th house of beginnings and endings. And these cards clarifying each other definitely indicate some sort of need to either close a current connection who might seem like the one but isn't the one, or close some sort of ideal when it comes to love that's preventing you from meeting your true person. And it'll depend kind of what situation you're in, but for some people, there's either expectations and ideals around connection for you, or a literal connection in your life that is actually playing into unhealthy and old patterns in your life. This 10 of Wands energy, this is a Saturn in Sagittarius energy. Saturn is obviously a karmic energy, and Sagittarius is a like 9th house spiritual development kind of energy, but it also seeks serenity, it seeks peace. So they can feel very conflicted, especially when they're coming out in reverse. And so this card in particular is asking you to reflect on anything in your expectations or ideals or current connection that is feeding into old patterns, into old karma from old love, old past connections, old lessons from especially early connections that you had with caregivers, or anything that they presented to you that was potentially unhealthy, or at the very least not aligned with who you are, who you want to be in connection, and who and what makes you genuinely happy. This 10 of Cups is kind of the pinnacle of like joy, abundance, satisfaction, happiness, and just like total alignment with the self, especially emotionally, but also kind of in relationships and psychically as well. It's a Mars in Pisces energy, and it definitely asks us to tune into the natural flow of our own energy and the flow of life, and embrace whatever our truth is and kind of live our truth. And definitely if there's anything conflicting with that that's coming from past conditioning, really honor this and let this go, because there's potentially some stagnation for you in connection right now, because there's some old stuff like essentially holding you back. Some things that you might find yourself reflecting on in the Venus retrograde, so when the energies become more internal, more self-reflective, and less external, is what you want out of a partner emotionally. This King of Cups energy is a very emotionally available partner. It's considered more of a like Piscean kind of spiritual energy, like someone who's very connected to the feminine within and has a lot of space for the feminine within, and doesn't resist the feminine within to the point where they're unhealthy or unavailable in any way. So yeah, I would say like these to me is definitely giving me the vibes of what you want, especially if you resonate with more feminine energies. There's also this Knight of Wands energy, which is someone who's very passionate, very energetic, goes after what they want, make bold moves, often romantic gestures, is very sexually like open, and pursues what they want. And then the Six of Pentacles is a very generous, giving kind of energy. It's a Moon in Taurus energy, and it's about someone who is generous, but they give within their means, and they also set themselves up for success when it comes to giving. Like they set up a routine or a lifestyle or a or like habits, or like they work hard for what they accumulate essentially, but they're also very open in terms of sharing. Like they'll share whatever they have, and this Five of Wands energy, this is a Saturn in Leo energy, and it's often associated with kind of like taking responsibility, but also pushing through any self-imposed limitations. So if you have any ideas about why you can't have this, even though you know it's what you want, explore that. Figure out where that limitation that you've put on yourself has come from. This energy is definitely asking you to like challenge the self and challenge any limitations that you've put on yourself, and kind of break them down and figure out why they're there essentially. Because yeah, it seems like for some reason there's some lack of objectivity within this King of Swords energy. This is heavy Gemini energy, and usually when it comes out in reverse, it usually means you're not being objective about something. Often it means that you're either being carried away by story or emotion, or some sort of false belief that you're carrying, given that the Swords energies is all about like kind of ego, and especially around like any stories or negative automatic thinking, or like patterns that are lodged within the like consciousness. And yeah, so Spirit's like, yeah, wants you to figure out like where your kind of perception and story or expectation are being warped in some way. And yeah, kind of like actively working on that energy. This Queen of Wands energy, this is someone who's super passionate, goes after what they want, but she represents the amalgamation of Aries and Pisces energy. She's the beginning and ending of the zodiac. She's fire and water. She's essentially a witchy archetype, and she creates whatever she intends to create. And so probably with these two energies coming out, there's some things that you're probably creating for yourself that have to do with your own stories or negative false beliefs, like self-fulfilling prophecies that need to be seen and rectified and healed in some way, especially by challenging those stories through like objective analysis. Like, for example, if you like are doing some journaling, especially when Venus is in retrograde and there's lots of self-reflective energy coming out, and you find yourself confronted with an ego story, you can ask yourself, is it true? Are you absolutely sure it is true? Who would I be if I didn't believe this to be true? And like maybe giving yourself an example or something like that. There's like lots of little prompts like that you can be doing to like kind of objectively challenge any thoughts that you might be having that aren't serving you, and creating new thoughts, new patterns to create a better reality for yourself, essentially. But yeah, let's get some oracles for you. So this could be about you if you're in a connection, or about just your ideals and expectations about connection. I don't think it matters. It's like a much broader than that energy anyway. But yeah, Spirit's asking you definitely to do a lot of reflection in this regard, and cease old patterns and start new ones for sure. This willpower is heavily correlated with Leo energy. So this energy is definitely more of this Five of Wands energy of like really challenging the self, challenging your own thinking and any self-imposed limitations that you put on there, or put on yourself, and discerning like what's kind of a like what's like yeah like discerning what's healthy behavior for you and what's not, and what's coming from a good place and what's not, and what's coming from alignment and what's not, which is challenging. That's a skill. It takes time, but no, this is divine protection from Spirit, like kind of this energy, and how Spirit intends to use this energy as Venus is transiting through your 8th house to essentially like put you on your own happiness. Like there'll be challenge in this retrograde, especially when these energies turn inward and you have to confront a lot of truths within yourself. Like that'll be challenging as hell, but know that it's kind of short-term pain for long-term gain. And ultimately it's divine protection. And yeah, when you figure out what it is that you really want, and what's truly aligned with you, hold your vision, because you have heavy Queen of Wands energy and you'll be able to attract that in for sure. Like definitely don't doubt yourself. Be confident in your ability to unpack what kind of your ideal connection is, and that you'll be able to take action into making that a reality. Like trust. Yeah, okay, you've done a lot of work, and definitely this little bit of work that you'll be doing as this Venus is transiting your 8th house, it'll definitely bring you good things. It'll bring you things in that will be cause for celebration. You'll be able to attract something in that you've wanted for sure. Okay, so your affirmations, Gemini Rising, is I'm in full control and have the power to attract all I desire. This is this Queen of Wands energy. Don't doubt yourself. If this is what you want, you call it in. And then we also have the universe and my inner self are harmoniously balanced. I think you need to trust this relationship a lot and a lot more through especially all of this healing. But I think I'm going to leave that there, Gemini Risings. I hope you got everything out of this reading that you really wanted and needed, or I hope you were entertained at the very least. My name is Jade Wilding, and it's been a pleasure reading for you. And I would love if you could like, comment, and subscribe so I can see you again on my feed very, very soon for another intuitive tarot card reading. But until then, ciao. Hi Cancer Risings, welcome to your reading for what is going on in life and love while Venus is transiting your 7th house of partnerships. Obviously there's going to be two kind of major energies going on here. The first will be when Venus is direct, which is a very externalized energy on this house, and the second will be when Venus is in retrograde, which is a very internalized, more self-reflective kind of energy to do with this 7th house of partnership. But the 7th house of partnership is usually ruled by Libra and Venus energy. So Venus is super happy here. And Venus tends to bring a lot more balance into partnerships when she's transiting through the 7th house. Venus is all about relationships, love, femininity, self-care, and it's just a very connective kind of energy. And so it's definitely a nice energy to have transiting through your 7th house. It can definitely bring a lot of good things. Just be like super mindful in terms of the retrograde aspects. Sometimes that can be kind of like either karma-ish or like lesson-ish. It's not necessarily kind of bringing blessings when it's in retrograde. Sometimes it's a kind of more internalized energy that is intended to align you with blessings in the future when it goes direct. That's just something to be mindful of. But we're going to get a tarot reading for you about what's happening in life and love while Venus is transiting your 7th house. We have messages for Cancer Risings in regards to what's happening as Venus transits the 7th house of partnerships. Cancer Risings, when Venus goes direct again after it's been in retrograde, there's a very good chance that there's going to be a either past lover or a new lover come in who is essentially some sort of like divine counterpart energy with you, either soulmate, twin flame kind of energy, or a very light, long karmic connection at the very least. It seems like this person and you might have unfinished business, so I would say for a lot of you it is someone from your past, but this Page of Cups also came out, which could indicate that it is a new person for others. I think it would just depend on your circumstances as whether this person is new or old, but regardless, either way, there'll be some things to kind of work out together before fortunes can shift in your favor, and for you to either have a new romantic start with an old flame or a new romantic start with a new flame. There'll definitely just be things to figure out, and there's definitely going to be a period of kind of like letting go and letting God, especially if this person comes in during the retrograde when things are a little bit more vague and unclear. And yeah, there'll definitely be some period of kind of figuring things out before you guys can make any sort of big commitment to each other. Definitely don't make any commitments while the retrograde period is on, when things are a little bit more elusive and unclear. Wait until the retrograde is past before you make any big decisions. But yeah, it looks like this is definitely predicting some sort of shift in the physical. There's a lot of major arcana that came out. Major arcana tends to come out when kind of like big changes are happening, and very like physical life altering changes are coming. The minor arcana more comes out when there's like more personal sometimes internalized lessons to be had. But yeah, when there's so much major arcana, it usually means that there's some sort of big shift happening. I would say, regardless of whether this is an old flame that you have unfinished business with or a new flame, it will definitely bring up stuff from your past, either the past of this connection or just past connections in general. This Five of Cups traditionally is about grief and loss and like hardship, especially emotional hardships. It's a Mars in Scorpio energy. So ultimately these hardships are created with the intention of up-leveling someone, of evolving them. It's about, like transforming, like using difficult emotions to create your own evolution, for sure. And it also asks us to have the courage to face all of our pains, all of our griefs, anything that needs to really be felt, and go through all the stages of emotion, definitely not letting the self shut anything down or avoid anything, because ideally what this card is directing us to do is to release any blockages when it comes to the movement of prana, especially love prana through the body. And so whether you've been in connection with this person in the past or whether it's a new connection, this person will definitely be kind of forcing you to shift some things, especially things that you haven't been able to let go of, some things from your past that are kind of like holding you back, or preventing you from either moving on or moving forward in some way. Once this shifts, once you kind of like start a new leaf, and have shifted some things energetically, you'll be more open to start manifesting like better for yourself. Like until you kind of release any remaining stickiness, you won't be able to manifest what it is that you want, and the Wheel of Fortune essentially won't be able to turn in your favor. This Chariot card traditionally represents someone moving in. It's Cancer energy, and a lot of the time when it's upright, it usually represents someone who's moving in a very dignified manner. When it's in reverse, it's usually someone moving for the wrong reasons, for either like control or like ego or whatever. But it does seem like this person's moving for the right reasons, especially because the Magician card came out right way up. We've got the Magician and High Priestess, which are traditionally like kind of twin flame energies. They're highly evolved masculine and feminine energies. They're the first masculine and feminine energy of the major arcana. Technically the masculine isn't masculine until the feminine arrives, but that's a conversation for another day. This energy is like more kind of God consciousness and neutral until polarity is introduced by the feminine. But yeah, this Magician upright usually represents someone who's very present, aware, ready to communicate and be much more attentive because it's heavy Mercury energy. So it seems like this person's moving in with definitely some communication at the very least. But yeah, probably some deeper intention in regards to this connection. This High Priestess, when she comes out in reverse, like sometimes this energy is kind of like warning, definitely not to go too quickly, and definitely pay attention to your intuition, especially like any dreams that you might be having about how you're feeling, or bodies of water that might represent how you're feeling, like because yeah, usually there's some sort of stickiness there when she comes out in reverse. So I'm definitely sensing this could just be like some blockages on your end that need to be shifted before this kind of new age of love can dawn upon you. But yeah, she'll guide you to what needs to be seen and healed from very quiet, like little nudges. It may be a little voice, or it may be as subtle as dreams and representations through dreams. Pay attention to whatever your intuition is telling you at this time, because I don't think you're going to be able to nurture this new connection and like kind of put yourself fully in it until some of this stuff from the past gets shifted. And this is kind of like one of the major reasons why I would say it's super helpful that you're having a Venus retrograde in the 7th house, because retrogrades turn energy inwards. It helps with self-reflection, and so these things should illuminate better to you. And I think this might be also another reason why it'll be wise for you to not make any moves during this retrograde if this person comes in at that time. I would say for a fair few people they'll wait until after, because their retrograde energies are also likely to be internalized, but potentially in a different house. Like they might make moves, but they probably won't, because this seems like kind of too high a connection to come into early. The only reason that they'll come in early is if there needs to be some sort of uncertainty for you to deal with blockages. But yeah, for most of you, I think they won't make moves till after, but just during this retrograde, just reflect on anything that needs to be shifted or cleared when it comes to connection. Venus in retrograde should illuminate anything that needs to be cleared to you. So yeah, just be mindful of that, and just like move really slowly and just kind of surrender to the process with this Hanged One energy, and just let things take time for sure. But you'll receive what you need for sure. You'll be able to move on, close any past issues, reach a new level of security and stability, and definitely growth. If this is more like less literal for you, if this is more of a like, I think for most of you it'll be a very physical change, but for some of you it might be a more contextual kind of personal change. Like expect to feel different, to definitely grow in a real way regardless. But yeah, this is likely some sort of soulmates connection with this energy coming out. Definitely a soul contract, definitely some sort of like higher order plan or something. Like it's a, this is a really good transit for that sort of thing, TBH. Yeah, love is coming. Just be mindful that unless you clear this prana, it can become very addictive. Unless you grow, unless you actually expand, there is a good chance that this may result in like some past patterns coming up and some stuff that will kind of be aggravated. So ideally you'd go into this connection kind of as clear as possible and as ready for all this like beautiful love paradise energy as possible, and have done as much of this personal growth, healing, evolution. But like for some people, like just won't happen that way. So be prepared for some of these energies to trigger some addiction tendencies that may cause you to go into a separation after this transit pulls this person in. But yeah, I would say this would be only for people who are meeting someone new. I think if this is an existing connection, I would imagine that you won't go into a second separation. Like you might, but I doubt it, just based on these energies. But yeah, just be mindful that that's possible if you go into this connection without actually having done the work. And if you start to feel these things come up, know that that means that you didn't clear what you're meant to clear during the retrograde, and it's something that you'll have to work on when energies go direct. And it's definitely something that needs to take precedence before initiating this. I just looked at the time and it was 11:11. Yeah, just be mindful that like if things start to go down this route, like you'll know why, and there's definitely possibility for you to pivot and shift some things before you necessarily go into separation, because you've been warned essentially. But yeah, this connection will definitely ask you to change how you show up in connection in general. It'll ask for different things from you, and so yeah, it'll definitely change a lot. You'll become a much different human. But yeah, I'm expecting you to be I'm expecting this to be like pretty cool. Be grateful for kind of however things play out. Definitely embrace this, let go and let God, energy. But yeah, I would say this is something physically happening for most of you, that a person is coming in during this transit for you. But yeah, making sure that nothing can come of this situation if you haven't done your work first. Like if you haven't maximized this Venus in the 7th house energy before this connection comes in, like it will be very challenging. There's probably going to be some things that are triggered and that need to be moved through. This is not for everyone here though. I would say for most people they'll be fine, but yeah, for the people that go into this kind of more separation addiction energy, it's probably coming from like a place of not enoughness and not feeling like you deserve to be free of these like feelings of loss or regret or not enoughness or whatever it is, wherever the prana is stuck. Like it's important that you pour love into yourself first, and definitely if you are struggling with this, to do this work in this time, it might be helpful for you to work on the relationship with yourself first before you worry about working on the relationship with this other person. But yeah, I'm definitely getting heavy mixed energies of people in here. There's definitely people that it'll just like kind of take off and be this like really, yeah, abundant kind of love, especially if you've done a lot of this work already. But yeah, for some people, and I would say this is for people where a more new connection is coming in, it'll be challenging. So yeah, definitely a bit mixed bag here. But your next oracle is go outside. It's time to go outside, tune into the powerful peace of nature, and feel at one with your habitat. I think this energy is basically asking you to stay grounded in this time. It'll be easy for you to get swept up in all this kind of like love Venus 7th house energy, because yeah, it's a lot of major arcana here, so this can definitely be overwhelming. So yeah, make sure you stay grounded and intentionally ground yourself as well. But your affirmation is every day I'm stronger in my mind, body and spirit. I am strong and I am capable. So whatever's coming in, no matter what kind of level of connection or whatever is coming in, know that you're capable of dealing with whatever comes up, and really trust in that, because yeah, there'll definitely be some challenge. Like it won't be hunky-dory, but it'll be challenge for the best for you as an individual. But I think I'm going to leave that there. Cancer Risings. My name's Jade Rewilding. It's been a pleasure reading for you, and I would love if you could like, comment and subscribe so that I will stay on your feed for more intuitive tarot card readings like this. But until then, ciao. Hi Leo Risings, welcome to your reading. This will be based on your life and love throughout this Venus transit through your 6th house. Obviously part of this transit will be a retrograde where energies will become more internalized, and part of this transit will be a direct Venus, so energies more externalized. Venus energies usually have a lot to do with connection, so love, also the connection to the self as well as others, so self-love majorly, and anything to do with kind of like femininity and beauty and things like that as well. And then the 6th house is ruled by Virgo. Traditionally, it's all about routine, lifestyle, serving others, to do with kind of work and everyday kind of tasks, and your general routine and lifestyle, and how that configures with other people as well. But we'll find out using our tarot what this Venus transit through your 6th house is going to bring. I'm kind of like expecting some like lifestyle and service of other messages, but we'll see what the tarot has to say in regards to what this transit is doing for you in this particular house. We have messages for Leo Risings about we have messages for Leo Risings? Clarify this Three of Pentacles energy, please. And this Queen of Cups energy, please. Leo Risings, this Venus transit through your 6th house is trying to help you create a better balance in terms of serving the self and serving others in your everyday lifestyle and routine. So obviously part of our everyday routine needs to be serving ourselves, needs to be about filling our cup first so that we can better serve other people, but also balancing, like, not overdoing that, but also not abandoning the self to serve other people either. There's definitely a balance that is required in this house. And this Three of Pentacles in reverse, this is traditionally a collaboration card. It's a Mars and Capricorn energy. And it asks us to have a very steady routine and a lot of self-discipline and space for others without criticizing or controlling them a lot of the time. So kind of space for others to be themselves. So very much it's this energy to me is saying that in your routine there needs to be obviously an element of ritual and service of the self, but also openness and flexibility to the considerations of others. This Three of Swords energy, this is a Saturn in Libra energy. It's traditionally a separation card because Saturn is about karma and Libra is about connection. So often separations are about kind of creating, they're usually about karma. Separations create a lot of grief and anguish and pain that force us to deal with any karma that we have in connections to heal those connections. So there's a good chance that you're probably either single right now or just your energies are kind of more turned inward already in order for you to deal with any karma that you might have in terms of connections, whether you're a self-abandoner or an over self-prioritizer to the abandon of others. Just to work out whatever that karma is that's making you swing one way or another, that's not creating enough balance in your everyday rituals. This Five of Wands energy, this is a Mars and Leo energy. So we've got double Mars here, which, represents a lot of conflict usually. This Five of Wands is asking to try and make your conflict or competition with yourself rather than others. Others are not the enemy. And if you are making others the enemy from a place of ego, know that there will not be a winner in that. That's not ever going to end well. There needs to be some sort of humbleness here, especially clarified by this Knight of Swords energy. The Knight of Swords is an air on air energy, so it is very in the head. A lot of the time it can create kind of righteousness and self-importance. It's kind of very Aquarian kind of energy. And when this card comes out in reverse, it's usually pointing to places where you're being a little bit too idealistic, and it's asking you to consider that you could be wrong, and it's important to be kind above being right, or prioritizing kindness over righteousness, and just being able to step back, especially from your own kind of story or thoughts, and considering alternative points of view. This is what Spirit's asking you to do during this Venus transit. I would say that a lot of this reflection stuff will come during the retrograde when energies turn more inwards. It'll be easier for you to reflect on how you show up in relationships, especially any karma that you have around relationships, and how they affect your day-to-day balance of energy in and energy out, because the energies will be more internalized then. And then when Venus goes direct, that'll be a really good time to start putting those energies into practice and start making very tangible shifts in your reality. There's probably some boundaries that need to be put in place, especially if you're a self-abandoner. This Empress energy, she really has a really good balance between prioritizing the self and others. When she's in reverse, usually that indicates that she's like fallen out of balance. So either prioritizing herself too much or prioritizing other people too much. But yeah, in reverse, clarified by this heavy boundaries, responsibility energy, it seems like Spirit's asking you to figure out what boundaries allow you to stay in that sweet spot where you can prioritize yourself and others equally. The Empress definitely has a very like an indulgent, self-care kind of side, but she also has a very nurturing, mothering kind of side as well. Like, she's definitely the best of both worlds. And this is the standard that Spirit's asking you to try and find during this period. There's likely some like either toxicity or just like ways that you're not seeing situations clearly that needs to be rectified in this time. And this is likely what Spirit's going to use the Venus retrograde to do, is to give you some clarity on some things, and ask you to step away from especially your own toxic patterns, but also stepping away from people that are asking you to relate toxically to them. And essentially, Spirit will be strengthening your intuition to be able to discern kind of who's good for you and who you need to kind of up level for, and who's bad for you and is stopping you from up leveling and stopping you from seeing things clearly, and just like not a good influence in your life that probably needs less access to you. This Eight of Wands energy is a Mercury and Sagittarius energy, and it definitely asks us to slow down and also express our truth. So anyone who's like activating you too much, who's spiraling you out of kind of peace in any way, as well as anyone who doesn't allow you to be yourself, will probably be illuminated to you during this retrograde period. And Spirit will probably kind of squeeze them out of your life in this time. So just be mindful of that. But we'll get some more oracles for you. Okay, yeah, this is definitely going to be a big period of growth for you, Leo Risings. And there's probably, during the retrograde especially, going to be some fears around some of this stuff revealed to you, like either where you're acting from a place of fear or where you're resisting change from a place of fear. And this is going to allow you to bring into fruition a better, like your life is going to feel better, because this retrograde is helping some of the relationships that affect this house for you, and making them more positive. Your commitment will definitely be tested. I'm expecting this to be a challenging couple of months for you during this transit, but it's important that you keep your eye on the prize and on the bigger picture, because sometimes it's about short-term pain for long-term gain. And yeah, sometimes the challenge is about the lessons, not about it being challenging. If you can try and keep your eye on the prize, eye on the bigger picture, that will help. Yeah, I think there's room for you to honor yourself a lot more, and invite a lot more play into your everyday, especially like really positive inner child healing that's from this place of like fun and enjoyment, and not so much seriousness. So if there's any opportunity to embrace that in this path, like definitely take it. But yeah, again, don't make any physical changes in the external till the retrograde period is over. Sometimes during retrogrades, Spirit kind of throws its curveballs and can kind of make things look like they're different to what they are, just basically in order to get us to just like reconsider how we're looking at it and kind of change our own perspective. It's not necessarily because we weren't thinking the right thing. Sometimes it's about being open to another reality, and just not being so stuck in the way that we're currently thinking. Being open for things to shift and change, and for us not necessarily to be right. So yeah, sometimes we can mistake openness for truth. So yeah, just be mindful to wait until the retrograde finishes. But your affirmations are: my heart is filled with eternal gratitude, and I count my blessings for all, and give thanks for all that I have, as well as the universe and my inner self are harmoniously balanced. So yeah, that's the main goal of this period for you, is just better balance in this particular domain of your life, especially as it pertains to any relationships that you're entertaining. Just generally, kind of like, obviously this will help romantic relationships, but just relationships in general. But I'm going to leave that there. Lucky last Leos. I hope you got everything out of this reading that you really wanted and needed, and I hope you were entertained at the very least. My name is Jade Rewilding. It's been a pleasure reading for you, and I would love it if you could like, comment, and subscribe so that I can see you again on this page for another intuitive tarot card reading very soon. Until then,